I transmigrated as an Uchiha, but survived the night of the massacre. My brother and I laid low until the Boruto era. To prepare for the coming Otsutsuki crisis, I tried to warn Naruto. I told him and Sasuke not to be blinded by a fake piece, but they wouldn't listen. So, I decided to take matters into my own hands. Reanimate Madara and Obito. Restart the Gato Matho to revive the Ten-Tails. Replicate the divine arts to grow the chakra fruit. Duplicate line removed. I'll show them through action. Exactly how the Boruto era should be handled. Deep beneath Konoha, in the Forbidden Corpse archives, I stood before a coffin. Beside me lay the guards I had defeated. One of them roared hoarsely at me. Uchiha Dust, do you have any idea who is in that coffin? I knew exactly who it was. I didn't feel like wasting words on him. With a simple genjutsu, I knocked him unconscious. It finally came to this. 7 years ago, my brother, who helped me plan this, died unexpectedly. I had no choice but to transplant his eyes. That gave me the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. And granted me brand new dojutsu. Shinsho, Mitabano, Yumutalu, Heiyasu, Teijisen, and Twin Blossoms, including the Susanoo I already possessed. I can now use 7 great ocular techniques. With these rare and peerless eyes, I can bypass Naruto and Sasuke. And shatter the predetermined future. And now, it's time to take the first crucial step. Ito Tensei, Madara. I had already convinced another reanimated soul to serve as my right-hand man. Naruto, Sasuke. I'm done waiting for you. As I spoke, a black vortex erupted from my right eye, sucking me and the coffin inside. In an instant, I arrived at the prepared ritual site. In the center stood a white Zetsu, frozen in time by my Yumutalu. Then, I activated Mitabano. Mitabano allows any combined jutsu to yield an amplified result. I cast the Ito Tensei through Mitabano, and Madara was immediately revived. Hashirama's Sage Mode mask was etched on his chest. The Rinnegan that vanished when Kaguya was sealed. Was perfectly restored by this reanimation. The moment Madara opened his eyes, a shockwave swept the room. I didn't speak immediately. I let him adapt to the situation first. Madara looked at his cracked palms, his brow furrowing. To think the shinobi world let someone like Kabuto roam free. Madara spoke as he scanned the surroundings. Duplicate line removed. He paused when he saw me. Those eyes. That compound pattern. The eternal Mangekyo Sharingan? You're not some coward hiding in the shadows. An Uchiha survivor besides Sasuke? How unexpected. Boy, state your name. I told him my name as requested. Madara nodded. Your left eye shows signs of recent use. You used it to facilitate the Ito Tensei, didn't you? Tell me ... What did you do to my body? I explained it simply. I've restored your prime state into this vessel. Madara looked at Hashirama's mask on his chest, then touched his eyes. His expression became subtle. You kept the true power of my Rinnegan. Without warning, Madara activated his eyes and cast Limbo, Border Jail on me. But as the Limbo shadow struck, I simply leaned aside and dodged it. Madara was surprised for a split second. He summoned the shadow to strike again, aiming a second blow at the back of my head. Once again, I evaded it. Madara narrowed his eyes, catching a detail. The speed of the Limbo strike had been eerily slowed. He activated Limbo with both eyes simultaneously. Suddenly, for shadows launched a relentless assault. I dodged every single one with perfect timing. Madara murmured to himself. Limbo is only visible to those with the Rinnegan or Six Paths power. Yet with only an eternal Mangekyo, this boy handles it with ease. He is worthy of standing before me. Madara ceased the attack. I looked at him calmly. Is the test of my strength over? Madara asked a question without confirming. That technique you used just now ... I introduced him to Yumutalu. When Madara heard I had only used its basic ability, he immediately wanted to see a higher level application. I shrug helplessly. But before my do jutsu ... should you ask why you were brought back? Madara chuckled. If I asked, I might have to kill you on the spot. I smiled. Madara took a combat stance. Seeing this, I lunged forward. After sparring for a while, Madara stopped, his expression grim. What is the limit of your time reversal? I held up 5 fingers. 5 minutes. Madara questioned me further. But I didn't reveal the full reason. I simply said, the time for war has not yet come. Madara raised an eyebrow, staring deep into my eyes. The 4th Ninja War happened. Even Kaguya descended. And yet, you say the time for war has not come. Madara couldn't fathom what I was preparing to fight. But he didn't press further. Instead, he became curious about me. You've successfully caught my interest. Fine. Tell me why you reanimated me. I checked the time, then looked at Madara. Do you mind if we move somewhere else? Madara nodded. I created another black vortex, pulling both of us inside. We arrived in a world of blinding white. I explained to Madara. This is the Talu time zone, the internal dimension of my Umutalu. Using this space as a hub, I can perform space-time displacement. The scene shifts. In front of a cozy cottage, my wife, Hikari, and daughter, Suki, were waiting for me. I introduced them to Madara. Then led him into the living room. We planned to talk over a meal. Hikari and Suki went for a walk. Silence fell over the room. Soon, Madara broke the silence. Is Hikari also a survivor of the Uchiha clan? I wasn't surprised by his question. Instead, I smiled and explained. Hikari has another name ... One you'll find familiar. That name is no name. She was active in the Warring States era, long before you. She was sealed at age 12 ... and I released her 16 years ago. Madara immediately questioned me. Why? I nodded. My strength alone isn't enough. I need like-minded comrades. ... to help me complete my plan. And that includes you. Madara frowned. My words were brief. ... but the implications were staggering. Seeing his confusion, I used my Sharingan to show him the events of Boruto. Meanwhile, in the Hokage's office, the guard captain, ... who had awakened from the Forbidden Grounds, ... reported the loss of Madara's remains. That's when Naruto learned about me. I had sent several warnings to Naruto via letter. ... but they had all been intercepted. Shikamaru had intercepted them all. Only then did Shikamaru tell Naruto everything. Shikamaru labeled me an opportunist of a peaceful era. Naruto was deeply disappointed in me. Just then, Sasuke's messenger hawk arrived. The message reported an attack. ... by a man named Shin Uchiha, who possessed the Mangekyo Sharingan. Naruto immediately set my matter aside. ... and ordered the sensory unit to heighten alert. Back to my side. The images in Madara's mind froze. ... on Boruto and Kawaki facing off atop the broken Hokage rock. A scene marking the end of the shinobi era. Madara glared at me ... demanding an explanation. I explained that through dreaming ... I could foresee a certain future. Madara didn't believe me so easily. How can you prove these visions are the future? I gave a slight smile. If these illusions are real ... It's midnight now. This afternoon, exactly as I showed you ... Double quotes ... the battle between Naruto, Sasuke, and Shin will occur. Why don't we go witness it ourselves? After making the agreement ... I returned to the Umutaru time zone. A frozen coffin ... lay silently on the central altar. Inside was Madara's body. This was the material I brought back from Konoha. ... to awaken my Rinnegan. After securing it, afternoon soon arrived. We descended from the time vortex into the forests of Konoha. I cast Baniyasu over both of us. This technique grants immunity to all detection. By erasing our very presence. Madara and I landed atop a great tree. In the clearing ahead. Naruto was accompanying a young girl. Sasuke leaned against the door of a pavilion. Madara watched this scene, identical to the vision. He couldn't hide his shock. Then, a black vortex appeared above the pavilion. Shin and his clones emerged. Madara already knew Shin's nature. And how the battle would unfold. He had only one goal now. To gauge the current strength of Naruto and Sasuke. He hoped they wouldn't make fools of themselves. Unfortunately, it was the opposite. It didn't go as he hoped. Just as predicted, Naruto fell for Shin's trap. Seeing Sasuke's Kusanagi sword thrust through Naruto's stomach. Madara grew disheartened. Shin began to mock them. Peace only hinders human evolution. And you two are the perfect examples. To stop evolving is to walk toward extinction. Just as Shin finished speaking. Sakura arrived and sent him flying with a heavy punch. The blow ruptured his internal organs. Madara's expression remained unmoved. Although with Sakura's arrival. The tide turned. And Naruto and Sasuke began to overwhelm Shin. Madara whispered with a sense of loss. 30 should be the prime of a shinobi's life. Yet they peaked as children. I asked if he wanted to keep watching. Madara shook his head. I gave a helpless smile. I remembered the reception room in Konoha. And Shikamaru's supposed test. It was merely a trial. I shook my head. Prejudice is like a mountain in one's heart. Experience teaches more profoundly than words. Naruto and Sasuke need a harsh lesson from reality. To truly reflect on why the shinobi world is regressing. Madara remained silent for a long time. Then, he asked the question that weighed on him. Why choose me? I am a man who once pushed the shinobi world to the brink. I didn't answer immediately. I checked the time. Hold on a moment. I need to retrieve something first. We'll continue after that. I activated the black vortex. In an instant, we arrived at the shattered nest. The area was scarred from the battle. But Naruto, Sasuke, and Shin were already gone. Beneath the rubble, I found the remains of a white creature. The vessel for Shin's space-time ninjutsu Eye. The entity known as the boss. Madara understood immediately. You want to reverse time. To restore this thing to its previous state? I see. The girl who destroyed this eye. Will also be brought back, won't she? Then Sasuke will use the RINNEGAN. And Naruto will find us immediately. Do you plan to fight them here? I shook my head nonchalantly. The time reversal of UMU-TARU. Is not limited to a spatial area. It can target a specific object. It just requires one extra step. Placing my hand on the target. To reverse its state individually. After speaking, I knelt and pressed my hand onto the corpse. After a few seconds of silence, the clone suddenly came back to life. Madara was visibly stunned. The clone tried to sneak away while we were off guard. A violent vortex surged in his eyes. But within my UMU-TARU time reversal, he had nowhere to run. I smiled faintly. Tell me who you are, and I might give you a quick death. The clone shook his head helplessly. I don't know exactly what I am. I'm a failed product of Shinuchia's cloning. Because I was infused with Hashirama cells. I managed to survive in this form. I nodded after hearing his explanation. Then, I ripped out his eyeball. Madara lacked space-time abilities. This eye would perfectly fill that single gap in his power. But nothing is free. If Madara accepted this eye, it would mean he was joining me. At this moment, Madara still had unresolved knots in his heart. He remained unmoved. Give me a reason to accept this eye. I asked him a question in return. Does the answer to my previous question count? Madara's gaze darkened. Let me hear it. So, I gave him my answer. In the lives we've led so far, we've both tasted loss and regret. That's why we know the right path, better than those who have never stumbled. I will help you, reach the opposite shore. In return, please help me, protect the people and things I hold dear. My words reminded Madara of a sound from his childhood. The sound of a pebble skipping across a lake. He realized then, that I understood him even better than Hashirama did. Suddenly, Madara stepped forward, and grabbed me by the collar. Seeing this, I realized I had still underestimated, the depths of Madara's heart. I felt the pain, and gave a solemn nod. Madara's expression sharpened. As soon as I spoke, he snatched the eye from my hand. He lifted his robe and pressed it into the right eye of Hashirama's face on his chest. With my goal achieved, I brought Madara back to my home. While we ate, I explained my plan to him. My plan is called the Otsutsuki plan. The core principle is internal stability before external defense. Therefore, the plan has two steps. First, eliminate the Otsutsuki currently on Earth, including the trio arriving soon. Momoshiki, Kinshiki, and Yorishiki, and Ishiki, who has been hiding on this land for a long time. Along with his organization, Kara. To achieve this, I need the right tools. And those tools will be Kaguya's legacy. Madara frowned at the mention of Kaguya's legacy. But he didn't interrupt me. I paused for a moment before continuing. More than ISSHIKI. Double quotes. Those cyborgs are my primary targets for purging. I won't follow Konoha's example. And leave such unstable elements behind. As for Amadu. My plan is to keep the technology, but not the man. I will gather more intelligence on the Otsutsuki. To pave the way for the external defense. Madara nodded in agreement. Then he asked about the second step. I told him everything without reservation. Second, I'll use the 10 tails raised by Ishiki as a base. Then, based on intelligence, I'll start a hunt. To eliminate any Otsutsuki who threaten this land. Hearing that I plan to take the offensive. A surge of excitement rose within Madara. Then, he asked the most practical question. And how do you plan to collect Kaguya's legacy? I smiled slightly and answered. 15 years ago, Naruto and Sasuke sealed Kaguya. The 10-tail shell, the Gato Matho, was lost. In the dimension of Amenaminaka. I intend to recover the Gato Matho. And regroup the scattered chakra. This move was clearly within Madara's expectations. He remained quite calm. And after reviving the 10 tails, do you intend to become its Jinchuriki? I thought for a moment and shook my head. That power is enough to fight someone like Ishiki. But against higher tier Otsutsuki. It wouldn't be enough. I likely won't become the 10 tails Jinchuriki. Through my spoilers, Madara now knew the power of high tier Otsutsuki. He nodded in agreement. Then he voiced his doubt. Whether you want to be a Jinchuriki. Or control the 10 tails another way. You can't do it without the Rinnegan. What do you plan to do? I gave a mysterious smile. I didn't give him the answer. But told him to wait. I then led Madara to a prepared altar. Madara wanted to try it himself first. So, I gave him a vial of his own blood. Madara performed the summoning, Gato Matho technique. But the ground remained motionless. He turned to look at me. I assume you have a way. To enter Kaguya's dimension? I nodded. Then, I performed the summoning, Ito Tensei. A coffin rose, and the lid slid open. Madara's eyes widened at the person inside. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Naruto and Sasuke were at Ichiraku Ramen. Discussing the fact that I had taken Madara's body. Suddenly, Sasuke's Rinnegan glowed. Looks like no ramen for us. The sealing coffin spell has been erased. Along with the Rinnegan spatial marker I left on it. The two immediately used my connection to the underground black market. To track down Orochimaru. They planned to gather intelligence on me. Back at the altar, Madara looked at the figure in the coffin and sighed. I didn't expect to meet again like this. The one I had reincarnated was none other than Obito. And he was in his peak form as the Six Paths Ten Tails Jinchuriki. His Kamui eyes were fully preserved. Obito looked at me. Even in the moment I was torn apart. I still wanted to become Hokage. And in the full power of the Six Paths Ten Tails Jinchuriki. The eyes possessing Kamui were also fully preserved. Obito looks at me. Here. The moment I was torn to pieces. I still wanted to become the Hokage. But the blueprint you drew for me over the last month. Shows that you have earned his approval. However, if you want my true recognition, you must prove through your actions that you are more trustworthy than Naruto. Do you understand? With a will so firm that even the Ten Tails could not shake it, I stared intently into his weathered face. If there ever comes a moment where you feel I am no longer trustworthy, you are free to leave me. Everything I do is so that our children can grow up in a world of peace. Obito's expression turned solemn. If you believe ... At this point, all elements for the plan were in place. Silence pause. Facing Obito's questioning, I slowly shook my head. Secondly, I want you to get to know the real me. And see the true foundation of our faction. As I finished speaking, I used the space-time ability of my right eye to draw everyone in, including Hikari and Suki, who had just returned. Right after we departed, Naruto and Sasuke, having tracked me from Orochimaru, appeared in my living room. Seeing that no one was home, Naruto walked over to the TV stand and picked up a photo frame. He stared at the photo of my family of four, lost in thought. Meanwhile, on the other side, our group appeared in a narrow mountain pass. I led the way, introducing the area to Madara and Obito. This place is located at the junction of the Land of Wine, the Land of Earth, and the Land of Birds. During the era of the Shinobi sect, this peach blossom spring was protected by a barrier, which is where the hidden shadow village was built. Soon, we stopped before a dead end formed by cliff walls. I raised my hand and formed a secret seal. With a loud rumble, a door appeared. I then led the group inside. Back at my home, Sasuke's gaze was grim. His chakra suddenly vanished. I suspect he possesses space-time abilities. Naruto didn't respond. For the past half hour, he had been sitting there, staring at the family photo. Sasuke looked at him, curious. Naruto touched the frame and shook his head. To think this guy would engage in such underhanded, dark dealings, spreading dangerous rumors just to sow chaos. He even dared to manipulate someone like Madara, a man who once brought the shinobi world to the brink of ruin. If he were a loner, it would be one thing. But he has absolutely no regard for his own family. Sasuke silently agreed with Naruto. Naruto then held up the chakra crystal obtained from Orochimaru. This crystal allowed us, in the Land of Fire, to faintly sense him in the Land of Lightning. Now, his chakra reaction has completely disappeared. He must have traveled to a region far beyond both the Land of Fire and Lightning. Based on that, we can narrow down the search area. Let's investigate one by one. Using my Rinnegan space-time power, I had no idea that Naruto and Sasuke were already hunting me. In the hidden shadow village, I led Madara and Obito into a settlement filled with towering buildings. The most eye-catching sight was a giant purple bird patrolling the skies. Obito used his Sharingan to look closely and spotted Madara on the bird's back. Startled, Obito looked at me. What is the meaning of this? I replied calmly, including the former Akatsuki. I have gradually brought them back via Ito Tensei, Of course, souls like Sasori and Itachi. Those who have no lingering attachments to the living world are excluded. Obito sighed deeply. Quite an ambitious move. But how do you make such dangerous individuals so obedient? I slowly spoke 3 words. Koto Amatsuki. Obito's mind raced. Does that mean Chisui's left eye is in your possession? In response to Obito's question, I gave Madara a full explanation. This led into the history of the Uchiha clan's massacre and Itachi's deeds. Madara finally understood. I see. I told the 5 Kage that there were a few capable shinobi within the allied shinobi forces. I didn't expect it to be Sasuke's brother, Itachi. But since Koto Amatsuki has already been used, you'd need Hashirama cells to reboot it quickly, right? Did you also transplant Hashirama cells? I shook my head. Then, I performed a summoning jutsu. In a cloud of smoke, a purple bird appeared and landed on my left shoulder. The bird turned its cold, sharp eyes toward them. Its right eye socket was a black void, but its left eye was a Mangekyo Sharingan. Obito recognized it instantly, Chisui's eye. I nodded and introduced it. This is the Kohakudori, a summoning bird I cultivated using Hashirama cells. I use it as the medium to cast Koto Amatsuki. At that moment, Madara spotted me and flew over to greet me. Madara and Obito both observed Madara, only to be shocked. They couldn't detect any trace of genjutsu manipulation on him. Madara stared at my left eye, and Obito spoke up immediately. Normally, Koto Amatsuki leaves a chakra trace that can be seen by the Byakugan or Sharingan. I smiled slightly. By combining specific techniques, one can achieve superior results. When paired with Koto Amatsuki, it can permanently erase chakra anomalies. The subject will be eternally loyal to me. For example, Madara still loves his art of explosions. By the way, Madara was about to take off when he stopped and stared at Obito. Have we met before? Obito denied it with a smile. Seeing this, Madara simply flew away. As we walked through the streets of the village, Obito looked at the bustling crowds, confused. Where did so many civilians come from in this place? I told him the truth. I migrated them from the hidden rain. Obito was stunned. You couldn't have used Koto Amatsuki on everyone, could you? I shook my head. Seeing this, Madara had no choice but to leave. Then, we walked toward the Enbu district. Obito looks at the bustling crowd, confused. Where did all these people in Taoyuan come from? I told him they migrated from the Rain Village. Obito was genuinely shocked. You couldn't have used Koto Amatsuki on everyone, right? I shook my head. We just need someone influential from the Rain to step forward. Then everyone will follow. As Obito asks who it is, a cold female voice rings from above. It's me. Conan appears amidst a flurry of paper. Obito gasps in shock. Impossible. Conan glares at him teasingly. Madara. Obito is flustered and speechless. Meanwhile, Xiaoyu runs to Conan, acting spoiled, and hands her a gift box. New skincare products Chen found. Try these. Conan's eyes light up as she takes the gift and nods to me. I'll see Kakuzu about the funding. You guys go ahead and shop. With that, she disperses into paper. Obito's tense expression finally relaxes. He turns to me. Hiji, give me an explanation. We continue walking down the path. Then, I begin to explain. My brother and I were both present during your fight with Conan. You killed her with the black rods. The interrogation and combat lasted 5 minutes. I used Mitobano to amplify Yumataru, and finally brought her back. Hearing how I resurrected Conan, Obito suddenly understands. So it's that dojutsu used to amplify me and Madara during the Edo Tensei? I nod slightly. Correct. The access return was unlocked then. A power deeper than time reversal ... Time freeze. Simply put, a target's time process stops completely. Once frozen, they enter my Yumataru time zone. I shift my gaze to Madara. Like the amber space you entered at first. Obito steers the conversation back. And after you froze Conan? I keep walking and explain. She was frozen on the brink of death. However, 2 of the Sannin were under the effect of my Koto Amatsuki to provide help whenever necessary. So, Konan was saved through Tsunade, and I didn't use Koto Amatsuki on Konan herself. Obito's expression shifts. He stops questioning Konan's situation and asks about something else. The other one sank into the Sea of the Rain village. He isn't also in this village, is he? I shake my head. Obito is quite surprised. You didn't witness the fight between Pain and Jiraiya? I shake my head again. I went. But after careful thought, I gave up. Remember Kashin Koji from the Kara members? I showed you in the Genjutsu. He's Amato's trump card, cloned from Jiraiya's cells. His later actions brought Ishiki's influence to the ninja world, which exposed the Kara organization. Kashin Koji's existence was necessary, or Kara might have stayed hidden forever. Obito is moved by this. I didn't tell him that I collected Jiraiya's blood, just that I haven't used Ito Tensei yet, since Jiraiya has a deep connection to Mount Myoboku. That sage mode achieved through the 2 great sages might expose my secrets to the sages, and the great Toad Sage can truly foresee the future through dreams. He can truly foresee. He is the one who can truly foresee through dreams. Because of this, I've always remained cautious. Meanwhile, at my home, Naruto and Sasuke are waiting. He'll definitely be back. The house is clean and tidy, filled with a warm, lived-in atmosphere. Looking at the photo, this woman is definitely a supportive wife, just like Hinata. Sasuke picks up the frame and studies it. Don't you feel ... Naruto shakes his head. Just your imagination. Sasuke puts the frame down and drops it, changing the subject. Passing through the rain, I notice the population has plummeted. I heard criminal elements have taken root, and the people have gradually left. Naruto calmly asks if Sasuke intervened. Sasuke shakes his head. Intervening would only treat the symptoms, not the cause. A look of sadness flashes in Naruto's eyes. I only realized after becoming Hokage that there are things even I am powerless to do. Years ago, I asked the daimyo for long-term aid for the rain. He only approved 3 years. Then he said the Land of Fire couldn't provide more, and forbade me from interfering in foreign affairs. The rain has decayed since then. Naruto didn't mention one more thing. That once he settles his own affairs, he'll send people to clear out the remnants of the 3 powers. As a gesture of apology to Konan. Walking the streets, I was unaware of the situation at home. We continue walking through the village. In front of a fresh food store, a woman calls out to us. Obito is quite surprised. Wasn't she sealed by Kinkaku and Ginkaku? My expression turns serious. She is the widow of my brother, Uchiha Jin. They married the same year I did. Wined and flowered ... They are the cousins of my daughters, Yuki and Jue, who are now studying at the Ninja Academy. After some pleasantries, Samui and Guang depart. Watching her leave, Guang sighs softly. I nod in agreement. If not for the children, she probably wouldn't have made it. I can't help but think of my brother's death. I wanted to open intel channels to find the cause of his death, but to this day, I still don't know who the killer is. Stranger still, my brother cannot be brought back via Ito Tensei. This lack of control frustrates me more than facing the Otsutsuki. I shake my head to clear these thoughts. Then look at Madara and Obito. Uncle Madara, Obito. The 2 of them are quite expectant. We arrive outside the Rain Ninja Academy. Through the wire fence, I see a 12 or 13-year-old girl at the front of the line. It is my eldest daughter, Uchiha Yuki. She is currently being tested. First, shuriken throwing. Second, ninjutsu assessment. They all got perfect scores and took first place. Madara kept his eyes on Yuki. He only looked at me after she sat down. That girl has a strong gaze, not like the spoiled children of this era. I looked at Yuki's back, my emotions complicated. She's been mature since she was small. I didn't want her getting involved. But the Uchiha massacre in Konoha was a harsh lesson. After thinking it over, I decided to be honest with her. After speaking, I pointed to the others. I didn't bring Madara and the others just to see Yuki, but to introduce them to the family I intend to protect. The boy and girl in the third row are Fu and Hana. Fu has already awakened the 3 Tamo Sharingan. He specializes in lightning style. His body flicker and kenjutsu are also superb. Madara nodded. Obito chimed in. His lightning style and swordsmanship ... were likely influenced by his mother from the Cloud Village. I nodded in agreement. Samui was the one who taught Fu the basics of kenjutsu. Obito then asked why Samui, a cloud ninja, would be willing to move to any inn. I smiled slightly. Her brother, Atsui, came as well. Her brother, Itsu, had also arrived. After arriving in any inn, they stayed as civilians. I don't need them to participate in the plan. They preferred to stay by my side with their children. The last one is Kanso, Yamato's son, and the academic director of the Ninja Academy. Madara looked at the man writing on the board. So that wood style user is called Yamato. I nodded at Madara's remark. Then I continued explaining. Hearing about the wood style, Madara became interested. Just then, Yamato looked up at his son, Kanso. Kanso nodded and formed hand signs. He unleashed a wood style, ghost bamboo dance. Interesting, Madara remarked. Obito turned to me. Why did you specifically recruit Yamato? Given your level, his wood style shouldn't impress you. I smiled. With the right means to boost his stats, his power isn't to be underestimated. During the 4th Ninja War, under the cover of a special white zetsu, he once blocked the path of the 5 cage. Obito's eyes flickered at the mention of special white zetsu. Could this special zetsu be? Before Obito could finish, I interrupted him. That is the old acquaintance I wanted you to meet, Sheju. On the roof of the school, a figure in a black robe looked up, revealing a pale, masked face. The next second, Obito vanished, dashing toward the rooftop. The two reunited on the roof. Toby shrugged, his voice heavy. Obito, I'm sorry about what happened back then. I considered you a friend, but I couldn't help you. I couldn't defy the will Madara sent through the Geto statue. A long-lost warmth appeared in Obito's eyes. It's good to see you again. After a short conversation, Obito returned to my side, looking pleased. On the training grounds, the grade evaluations ended. Koyuki and Yuki saw us and walked over. Fu and Hana also stepped forward and bowed respectfully. I looked at the 4 children warmly. Uncle Obito will be staying in the village. You 3 take Koyuki to see the fireworks festival. Fu and Hana were born after the war, so they didn't recognize Madara or Obito. But Yuki was shaken. She slowly looked up, meeting Madara's gaze. Madara's lips curled into a slight smile, his Sharingan swirling. Yuki froze in place. She only snapped out of it when Koyuki called her. Madara's deep voice echoed in her mind. Yuki, if you can master the forbidden jutsu I just demonstrated ... before our next visit to the village, I will officially take you as my disciple. By then, we had already walked away. Madara suddenly asked, do you expect those children to fight in a war one day? I shook my head. Only peak combat power is meaningful. Army warfare is just a death sentence. I built Enian village, only to give the people I protect a stable and comfortable environment, letting them grow freely into who they want to be. ... so that I can fight without any regrets. Madara remained silent for a moment, then leaned in and whispered, is stability all you truly desire? Facing Madara's question about my ultimate desire, I stopped hiding it. I looked toward the distant horizon. That is just a compromise for survival. What I truly want is something far more extravagant. Madara fell into deep thought. We didn't speak further. I then took them to a restaurant, preparing a lavish dinner for them. Afterwards, the three of us went to the hot springs. While we were enjoying ourselves, on the other side of the living room, during those 10+ hours of waiting, Naruto had shared everything about the village's current state. Sasuke had also shared what he saw during his travels. Yet, I still hadn't appeared. Sasuke asked Naruto if they should keep waiting. Naruto pondered for a moment and nodded. He'll definitely come back. It was an intuition he developed from years of a monotonous life. Hearing this, Sasuke suggested waiting outside. He didn't want to stay in someone else's house anymore. So, they moved to the outdoor corridor. Feeling the cool summer night breeze, Sasuke's mind suddenly cleared. Shikamaru mentioned that the Otsutsuki intel was leaked by one of the 5 Kage. Who do you think is the prime suspect? Naruto paused. He hadn't thought deeply about it before. But now his gaze sharpened. Dust's home is in the land of lightning. Just past the mountains is the Cloud Thunder Gorge. I suspect there was a leak on Darui's end. Sasuke nodded slowly, his voice low. However, back then, Obito used the Sharingan to control the 4th Mizukage. And ruled the Hidden Mist for 10 years. Naruto's expression changed instantly. Sasuke nodded. He even dared to touch Madara's body with the Mangekyo Sharingan. That possibility cannot be ruled out. It's necessary to confirm this with the Cloud Village. Naruto's brow clouded with worrying. Naruto suddenly looks troubled. As Hokage, it is inconvenient for me to intervene. Sasuke, go and investigate. Sasuke nodded in agreement, then raced off toward the Cloud Village. However, neither of them noticed. Deep within the forest outside, a white head slowly sank into the ground. After a while, a pale, white head emerged from the ground. Upon seeing me, White Zetsu reported respectfully, "My lord, I am Inner Zetsu no 18. My partner, Outer Zetsu no 18, reports that Naruto is currently lying in ambush outside your door. Sasuke suspects your connection to the Cloud Village and has gone to investigate." I nodded upon hearing this. Understood. Tell Outer Zetsu no 18 to withdraw for now. Inner Zetsu no 18 departed after receiving the order. I fell into deep thought. It must be Orochimaru's lead regarding my use of Koto Amatsuki on him. Besides making him hand over the Edo Tensei and cell technology, I left him one suggestion. Should any emergency involving me arise, guide the situation toward my desired outcome. And my desired outcome is whatever benefits the shinobi world. Therefore, if Orochimaru believes Naruto and Sasuke, finding me now is beneficial to the big picture, then I shall trust his judgment this once. Returning to my room, I left a note on the nightstand and headed out. I went to a mountain not far from the hotel. Madara and Obito had planned to spar, so they had come here. I happened to see them shaking hands, so I approached them with a smile. Madara and Obito turned and let go of each other. Madara crossed his arms again. "First time I've seen you out at this hour." I explained the situation to him. Obito quickly asked if they needed to step in. I shook my head with a smile. "You two just watch from the side. But since my rest has been interrupted, I might as well send those to home first and officially put our plan into motion." By then, Sasuke had returned to Naruto. I've ruled out the possibility of Darui being under a Genjutsu. Naruto breathed a sigh of relief. After all, if even the raikage of the 5 great nations was manipulated, the scope of the issue would be far too wide. It would trigger a political earthquake across all 5 nations. For now, the problem remains between Konoha and the Cloud. Sasuke and I can handle it. Before Naruto could finish his thought, I appeared at the edge of the forest. Madara and Obito had erased their presence. The two exchanged a glance and vanished into hiding. The next second, Naruto entered Ninetales mode and flew toward me. "Where are you? Where are you?" he shouted, throwing a punch at me. However, the golden fist stalled an inch from my face. I stepped aside with ease, and the punch smashed a giant boulder instead. Naruto crouched in the ruins, bewildered. What? I let out a soft chuckle. He's just a stat monster, much like Obito's Kamui. My abilities naturally counter raw power. The only thing I truly fear is Sasuke's Rinnegan. As the thought crossed my mind, my right eye flashed. In an instant, a bone hand wrapped in silver aura appeared out of thin air and seized Naruto from behind. Naruto stared at the Susanoo skeleton in shock. Of course, I wouldn't tell him that my ocular power can store any chakra technique, including Susanoo, 5 elements, or even Senjutsu, within my eye, requiring no hand signs or immediate chakra consumption. I then activated my Sage mode. In the ensuing fight, I severely wounded Naruto within a few rounds. Fortunately, Sasuke arrived in time to stop me. As Naruto hurried to treat his wounds, I held back for a moment. Sasuke looked at me and asked, "Uchiha name, what is your true goal?" I gazed at them calmly. Actually, I am no different from the previous Hokage. It is simply that our perceptions differ, and we see the world differently, so our methods differ as well. Naruto could no longer contain his anger. How is what you've done comparable to the Hokages? Sasuke cut in. Madara and Obito said similar things back then. They also tried to overturn the shinobi world. Do you know how they ended? Or perhaps you don't. Hearing Sasuke's words, I recalled Shikamaru's assessment of me. I let out a cold sneer. By now, Naruto had healed his injuries. Sasuke gave Naruto a knowing look, and the two attacked me again. Madara and Obito watched with great interest from the side. I was unfazed by their assault. Using my 7 ocular techniques, I easily broke their combined attack. Eventually, Naruto lay on the ground, barely breathing. Sasuke struggled to his feet and stumbled toward Naruto. Using the last of his ocular power, he opened a Rinnegan portal, pulling himself and the dying Naruto inside. I didn't stop them. I simply let them leave. I picked up the Kusanagi sword Sasuke left behind and tucked it into my waist as a trophy. Then, I looked in the direction they vanished. I sincerely hope this lesson in defeat will bring true peace to this land. The next moment, Madara and Obito revealed themselves. I took a large military ration pill. Let's officially begin our plan. I returned home and looked around. Aside from a shifted picture frame and a chair pulled out from the table, everything else remained the same. However, Madara was still concerned. Our location is now exposed. Knowing Konoha's style, they'll likely send people to our door. I smiled slightly. It doesn't matter. To be honest with you too, I have legal residences in the 5 great shinobi nations and the surrounding small countries. Let's stay in the land of water for a while. Madara and Obito exchange looks. I put away the photos and look at them. Let's head to the mountain peak first. The terrain is more open there. It's a perfect starting point. At the summit, the sun is rising over the horizon. A new dawn is coming to the shinobi world. The first step of our plan, recovering Kaguya's legacy. We must enter her core dimension and resummon the Gato Matho. This requires the ocular power of both Obito and Madara. Obito activates his Mangekyo Sharingan. I move behind him and place my left hand on his spine, then activate my Miju opening. I immediately alert him. Come, Obito. You have been enhanced. Obito's eyes erupt with light. A massive Kamui vortex, 10 meters wide, erupts from his eyes into the void. Obito is shaken. This effortless power, surpassing his limits, even exceeds what he felt from Naruto and the pink-haired girl. Miju opening is a truly powerful support jutsu ... Nothing can stop my Kamui now. A second later, at the center of the spatial vortex, a rift opens, the size of a mirror. But a surge of scalding, turbid liquid rushes out. Obito's expression shifts. The Acid Sea dimension is the first to connect. Madara steps forward. A Susanoo skeletal wall rises instantly to block the corrosive acid. As the rift expands to match the Kamui vortex, the acid floods out like a broken dam. It threatens to swallow the Susanoo bones. Obito focuses his ocular power. The power of Kamui surges again. A second vortex tears and diverts the flood. As a second rift forms at the center, a new dimension replaces the acid sea. It is a realm of scorching magma and volcanoes. Obito looks on with nostalgia, but the lava realm is no place to stay. He continues searching for the next one. The third space shows faint, crystalline shapes. This place looks acceptable. The three of us step through the portal. On the moon, far away ... Sarutobi hears a sharp cracking sound. He reaches out tentatively, touching a glass-like rift in space. Deep worrying fills him. Boruto's fate has been twisted. He will no longer carry the destiny of a savior. What is happening on Earth? The sheer force of world-changing energy from this rift leaves him powerless to intervene. Oh, Princess of the I ... I fear I can no longer watch over you and Boruto. Where is this world heading? Space has become unstable. The heavenly beings are approaching. Through the frost and haze. A figure approaches me, but I cannot see who it is. After saying this, Sarutobi stands frozen. I am unaware that my attempt to communicate with Amena Minaka to jumpstart the plan caused the spatial rift that was meant to occur during Kaguya's summoning to manifest prematurely. This allowed Sarutobi to see a completely different future through Boruto. Fortunately, this future is the one I desired. We have landed in the high-gravity space. We have now landed in the supergravity space. Obito gazes at the place where he once fell and lets out a heavy sigh. To think, ... this is where my worthless life ended. After Obito's moment of melancholy, we break through the gravity barrier into the desert space, then the ice space, finally reaching Amena Minaka's core. After leaving the ice space, a black vortex suddenly tears through space. Kinshiki descends, with Momoshiki upon his shoulder. The butterfly effect I caused has become a storm. Drawing the duo here, Momoshiki uses his Rinnegan to survey the area, his gaze settling on where we opened Kamui. The two of them pursue us. Shortly after they leave, Yorishiki also appears. He watches them go, with an inscrutable smile, unaware of what follows. Madara, Obito, and I stand at the canyon floor, looking up at the spectacle above. Madara crosses his arms and mutters, "Is that the Six Paths Chibaku Tensei?" The sage used the Gato Matho as the core. I pick up where Madara left off. The moon we observe from Earth ... is another masterpiece of that jutsu. If we reclaim the Gato Matho here, and recollect the scattered chakra, we can bring back the Ten-Tails. As I finish speaking, I toss a blood vial to Madara. He calmly applies the blood and form seals. The earth trembles. The Gato Matho, sealed for 15 years, is pulled from the core and brought to light. Suddenly, the Matho roars and swings a massive palm at me. But I do not move. Instead, Madara's Rinnegan glows. The palm stops mid-strike. Madara forms the child seal. A lotus pedestal rises to lift the Matho from the ground. Sensing danger, the Matho tries to crawl off. Madara switches to the snake seal, using the outer path demon binding. A cage of wood style and adamantine chains forcibly binds the Matho to the lotus, forcing it into a meditative pose. With shackles around its ankles, Madara completes the seals. The binding slowly sinks into the earth. I turn my gaze to the Matho's chest. This is going to take a lot of effort. Madara watches with a lingering gaze. That was the Matho I used as a vessel ... Double quotes ... a near sentient being without a will of its own. Any plans for my Rinnegan? It's time to reveal the answer. I activated the vortex in my right eye. A coffin slammed onto the ground. The frost of frozen time slowly faded away. I opened the coffin. Inside was a swirling, black, fluid-like substance. Madara stepped forward and glanced inside. Where did you get so much pitch? I couldn't help but laugh. It's not pitch, Uncle Madara, it's your remains. My tone was so casual. That Madara didn't even react at first. Beside the coffin, Obito hung his head, his shoulders shaking. Madara scratched his wild hair and pointed at the coffin. Seriously, don't I deserve an explanation? I turned serious. Your remains on the battlefield were recovered by Konoha. Sasuke and Naruto suggested preserving them, creating a forbidden burial ground beneath the village, guarded by a specialized NBU squad. Madara looked surprised. I glanced at him and continued. They actually thought about using Ito Tensei if it ever became necessary. Sasuke even suggested that Naruto seal the chakra of all the tailed beasts within his own body. That would protect the beasts, while giving Naruto power close to that of the Ten Tails. Unfortunately, Naruto refused. Later, through a mole in the Anbu, I discovered the location of the burial ground. I used yin-yang release to refine your remains into this. Madara stared down at the black liquid. Just make sure no weird things got mixed in. I smiled and told him not to worry. Then, I began the next step. I formed a hand seal. Suddenly, from the Gato Matho above, specifically, the chest of the Hashirama clone, a six-paths black rod extended downward, branching out like a tree. The tips plunged into the liquid in the coffin. Using the rods as a medium, the liquid flowed upward, gradually covering the clone's skin. This continued until the coffin was empty. I snapped the rod just above the coffin and stabbed it into my own shoulder. My left eye erupted with intense light. I activated my ocular jutsu, Twin Bloom. A series of popping sounds echoed through my body. Black matter began to weave through my color. I cast aside my robes. Only my head remained the same. My entire torso had turned into the Gato Matho, a fusion of the Hashirama clone and Madara. Madara and Obito stared, speechless. What did you do? I cleared my throat. Twin Bloom creates a lifelink with the target. Then, I swap my body with the clone on the statue. Madara quickly processed the concept, and his expression sharpened. Do you plan to operate in Hashirama's body indefinitely? Once we leave this space, this symbiotic state with the clone, which depends on the Gato Matho to survive, will end. Surely you know. What else is needed to awaken the Rinnegan? My expression became grim. I had set a delayed jutsu to trigger. Suddenly, the luster in my right eye vanished, turning dull and lifeless. This sudden turn left Madara and Obito stunned. What did you do? I cast Izanagi into my right eye. Just as you did to survive against Hashirama, Uncle Madara. Madara was confused. You aren't fighting anyone here. I shook my head. If I believe I can rely on a miracle, I'll subconsciously hold on to hope, and that hope will lead to failure. Sacrificing this I was necessary. As I spoke, I drew the Kusanagi sword from my waist. Under their shocked gazes, I turned the blade and plunged it into my own heart. Madara tried to stop me, but he was too late. The sword pierced straight through. My face twisted in agony. But I wasn't finished. Gritting my teeth, I gripped the hilt and twisted hard, completely destroying my heart. Through the Twin Bloom lifelink, a matching hole tore open. In the chest of the Gato Matho clone, Madara was shaken to his core. Obito was visibly moved. I didn't have time for them. I pulled out the sword and collapsed. Blood soaked the earth beneath me. I came here with total resolve. Succeed or perish. If I'm lucky enough to survive, please keep this a secret from Hikari. Before I could finish, Madara cut me off sharply. I will use Ito Tensei on you. and then find a way to use Rine Rebirth. The three of us leave this mountain together. Not a single one left behind. From now on, no matter what happens, it doesn't matter. You only need to do one thing. As Madara spoke, a space-time vortex opened above us. Momoshiki and Kinshiki had arrived. I sensed the visitors above, but the shadow of death clouded my mind. Now, I could only fight my own battle. I left the external threats to Madara. Momoshiki scanned the land. One of them is about to die. Madara heard this and looked at Obito. Get him into the Kamui dimension immediately, and stay by his side. I recall another one named Jurashiki. Stay vigilant. Obito nodded, and used Kamui to pull me into his dimension. Duplicate line removed. My world faded into dark chaos. Fortunately, this body equal to Hashirama's possessed incredible regenerative power. As long as my will is strong enough, and I survive this long process of heart repair, I will be able to stand again. I still have faith in that. Soon, I fell into hypovolemic shock. My consciousness began to blur. I sank into a dark, chaotic ocean. Suddenly, a face rose from below, mirroring my own inverted reflection. My left eye widened as I saw him. It was the face of my dead brother, Jin. His voice was resentful and hideous. Didn't you say you'd protect me for life? The moment I heard those words, I knew. This was a heart demon, born from years of suppressed regret and guilt. The real Jin would never blame me. This demon was seizing the chance to take my life, while I fought my inner demon. Out in the wasteland of the primordial sphere space, Madara assessed the situation with a keen eye. Momoshiki hovered in the air, scrutinizing Madara's Rinnegan and chakra strength. Before ordering Kinshiki to take him down, Madara knew he couldn't afford further damage. He kept a close eye on the Gato Mazo's chest, where the Hashirama clone resided, linked to my life via the twin flowers. That clone could not be harmed. Kinshiki's one-on-one attack was the safest bet. The two clashed, moving like bolts of lightning. Unable to break through, Kinshiki grew impatient. Madara seized the opening. Kinshiki's horn was sliced off, and half his head and Byakugan were incinerated. Seeing this, Momoshiki joined the fray. He used his right Rinnegan to absorb Madara's fire-style Sage Art. Then, he aimed his left Rinnegan at the Gato Matho, firing back a fire-style blast amplified several times over. Madara's pupils contracted. He instantly activated the Pretapath's absorption, then deployed the Sanxi barrier to block the flames and protect the statue. Momoshiki sneered, launching a barrage of chakra rods through the fire, augmented by Shinra Tensei. They pierced right through Madara's Susanoo, heading straight for the Hashirama clone. Madara was forced to teleport and block them, resulting in the right side of his body being shattered. Momoshiki seized the chance to grab Madara by the throat. So, you were protecting this creature embedded in the statue's chest. He then used his Rinnegan's absorption technique to begin devouring Madara's chakra. But Madara gripped his wrist with his left hand, while roots erupted from his wound to entangle Momoshiki. He then pulled out a scroll filled with explosive seals and plastered them all over Momoshiki. Momoshiki realized too late that Madara had let himself be caught. At that moment, beneath Madara's clothes, the eye of the Blade of Fate opened a vortex, transporting the Gato Matho to a cliff far from the battle. Madara spoke a few words, activating a mutual destruction technique designed for reanimated bodies. While Madara bought me time, in that desolate place, I finally defeated my heart demon. As the darkness fully dissipated, I saw a vision of pure white. Suddenly, a voice reached me. At the time, I couldn't make a sound. I could only vaguely sense two silhouettes before me. The two of them began talking again. The younger brother spoke first. It should end with Naruto and Sasuke's generation. The older brother's voice was low. Then where do we go from here? Like that useless old man, the six paths, waiting millennia just to find a reincarnate, to seal it all again. The brother immediately retorted sternly, "I won't let you speak of father that way." The two began to bicker. Eventually, the older brother ended the argument and proposed a competition. The goal was to earn my recognition. Surprisingly, the younger brother agreed, but insisted on 3 ground rules. When one person is speaking, the other must endure, no matter how much they disagree. On major matters, we must remain united. Whether it's the 2 reincarnates in the living world, or that lingering 6 paths old man, we must draw a clear line starting now. The first 2 rules were proposed by the brother. The third was proposed by the elder. Seeing his brother hesitate, the elder brother urged him. The old man's philosophy was wrong. What the future world needs is someone like Chen, unbound by rigid duty, prioritizing the world above all, and daring to fight and strive for his goals. After hearing this, the younger brother finally agreed to the third rule. Then, both turned their gaze toward me. Seeing my state, the elder brother shook his head. "I'm afraid the competition cannot begin yet. The timing isn't quite right." "You heard everything, didn't you, Uchiha Chen?" I was fully awake by then. I nodded thoughtfully at their words. Seeing this, both dissolved into bubbles and vanished. "Until next time," was all they left behind. As they disappeared, I breathed a sigh of relief. I couldn't believe Indra and Ashura appeared in my mental world at the same time. I then focused my mind inside the Kamui dimension. Under Obito's watchful eye, I slowly woke up. The blackness on my skin began to recede, and the Hashirama-like features disappeared. The scar on my chest returned. This was my own body. The twin flower link had been severed, yet my power had not diminished at all. Obito watched me in astonishment. I gave a slight smile. A moment later, Obito and I returned to the primordial sphere space. Madara and Momoshiki were preparing their ultimate moves. It seemed the previous explosion hadn't killed Momoshiki. The two fought intensely for a while longer. When Madara saw me emerge, he looked at my right eye. It was the 6th Damo Rinnegan. I smiled at him. Madara looked away, speechless. To awaken a single Rinnegan this way, ... You must have endured a genuine near-death experience, caused by an irresistible external force. I nodded in response to Madara. One eye is enough for the current plan. While we were talking, Momoshiki couldn't contain his rage. Silence action. It seems you've forgotten I'm here. You lowly creature, nearly dead just a moment ago. Not only that, another one deeply tainted by Kaguya's bloodline. Kaguya truly is the shame of our clan. Silence action. Madara ignored Momoshiki's screaming. Instead, he looked at me, asking how I intended to deal with him. I scanned the surroundings, then blurred downward, heading for the broken horn of Kinshiki that Madara had snapped off. Seeing this, Momoshiki swung his glowing scythe, charging at me. I blocked him for a split second with a chakra rod, and snatched the broken horn. Then, I activated the Yumatadaru ocular art. Suddenly, Kinshiki's body reappeared in my hand, his face filled with horror. I whispered to myself, that was right at the limit. Luckily, with the Rinnegan, the time reversal limit is now 10 minutes. Kinshiki looked around in confusion. After Madara shattered half his body, he was powerless and eaten by Momoshiki. He never expected to be revived like this. From the moment Kinshiki reappeared, Momoshiki was completely stunned. Obito looked on, puzzled. Madara kindly explained. Momoshiki had already consumed Kinshiki, creating a layer of causality between them. If the time is reversed, to before Kinshiki was turned into a fruit, then through that causal link, Momoshiki is forced out of the absorbed state. But Momoshiki's form didn't change. This means that causal link has vanished. On the surface, it looks like a simple revival. But in reality, he has created two Kinshikis, the one eaten by Momoshiki, and the one who is now alive. Once Madara finished speaking, I used time freeze ice to cover Kinshiki's body. Kinshiki looked helplessly at the frozen Momoshiki, before being completely sealed in frost and mist. With that step complete, I turned my gaze to Momoshiki, while I wondered if I should spare him for future use. Momoshiki lunged at me like purple lightning. I used the Umatadaru barrier to dodge, then drew the Kusanagi sword from my waist, slicing off Momoshiki's left horn. Then, I summoned Susanoo and smashed him down. He might have stood a chance at full strength, but if he doesn't run now, is he waiting for a trophy? I gave him a brutal beating to force him to retreat. Unexpectedly, Momoshiki stubbornly charged back, but in the next instant, I understood. I spoke up to shatter his delusions. I have already used absolute severance to cut our causality. Your karma will never take root in me. Then, my charged Susanoo blade flashed, piercing through Momoshiki's abdomen. Momoshiki shrieked and flew backward. I will die in vain. Human, tell me your name. I didn't hide it, and told him my name directly. Momoshiki burst into laughter. Fine, I'll remember it. You shall carry the name of a god until your destruction. I raised my palm to finish him. Just then, a Rinnegan appeared above me. A glowing fishing rod cast down, and hooks rained down like a storm. The heavenly wave meteor shower. The newcomer smiled. I smiled back. Where there are rough seas, there must be a fisherman. I lightly blocked the raining hooks, using a force field to shake them all off. Urashiki stopped attacking from the sky. Instead, he reeled Momoshiki up with his line. I smiled inwardly. Letting Momoshiki go suited my plans, but I couldn't do it openly, or I'd expose my intentions. Urashiki held Momoshiki in one hand, looking at me. Another one of Kaguya's kin has appeared. Silence action. His eyes shifted from Rinnegan to Red Sixtamo Rinnegan. Then, he stepped into the void of Yomatsu Hirasuka. Obito asked if we should pursue. I shook my head. He possesses the black box, which can freeze time, and banish targets to the Dragon Palace. Plus, fighting now would disrupt the plan. By then, Urashiki had already vanished with Momoshiki. I absorbed the broken horn back into my palm. Madara looked at me meaningfully, planning to duplicate Momoshiki too. I shook my head. I can't do it right now. Reversing time would just bring him back, as he was. To duplicate, two different forms of the same entity must exist. Like how Kinshiki existed as both a body and chakra. Only then can I mass-produce him. Madara and Obito looked at each other, their expressions complex. I sealed the horn in a scroll as a specimen, then looked up at the six paths Chibaku Tensei. We summoned the construct, but Kaguya's true self is still at the core. Now that Urashiki has been here, and this massive object doesn't fit in my dimension. There's only one way left. Madara smiled. His fight with Momoshiki was interrupted, and he was itching for more. Obito nodded as well. He had been watching from the space-time void and was restless, seeing them like this. I pulled out a lunchbox and sat atop the construct's head, eating while watching the show. Their swords and blades soared toward the sky. Minutes later, I let out a burp and stood up. Since they hadn't finished it yet, I jumped in to help the planet-busting squad. The three of us combined our Susanoo. The sword slashed the heavens. Kamui Shuriken tore through space, and the piercing spears caused chain explosions. Under the triple assault, the Six Paths moon crumbled. Amidst the dust, a white sleeve drifted down. A dark shadow peeked out from the sleeve. A dark shadow peeks out from my sleeve. Madara swung his rod, pinning him from above. Think you can slip away right under my nose. Then, the three of us landed in front of Black Zetsu. Meanwhile, at the ruins of the Izuma region, a withered divine tree stood alone in the center. Urashiki stood beneath the tree, eyes closed, counting. Duplicate OC are removed. Exactly 1 hour passed. The limit of the Yumutoda theory's time reversal had passed. Finally, he breathed a sigh of relief. Duplicate, removed. Seeing this, Momoshiki looked on with disdain. Uchiha-chan is just a human. No matter how strong the Rinnegan is, 10 minutes is the limit. Not an hour. Urashiki shrugged indifferently. Better safe than sorry. By now, the wound on Momoshiki's abdomen had healed. Yet, his tone remained cold. Urashiki's smile didn't fade. We are members of the 10 gods of Takamagara. It's only right that we help each other. Momoshiki interrupted him impatiently. Speak. Urashiki didn't mind Momoshiki's attitude. He stated his demand directly. The Ninetales is mine. The Ninetales Jinchuriki is the Hokage, Naruto Uzumaki. Along with Sasuke Uchiha, they sealed Kaguya 15 years ago. That celestial star you saw earlier. ... is where her seal is located. Meet me here once it's done. Urashiki handed Momoshiki some intel on the tailed beasts. Then, he vanished into the shadows via Yomatsu Hirasaka. In another cold palace, Toneri seemed to have accepted his changed fate. Shortly after, Urashiki appeared in the palace. Pleased to meet you. What a shame about that woman. But your devotion to that planet is admirable. Rage flared in Toneri's eyes. He lunged forward at Urashiki. However, this played right into Urashiki's hands. After all, the time box must be activated at close range. In an instant, a red string pierced him as frost spread. Toneri's body was gradually frozen. Amidst the blur, he again saw the final scene from when he called upon fate. The scene he had failed to see clearly before. In the vision, a figure emerged from the dispersing frost and haze. Toneri hurriedly asked within the vision, "You, who are you? How could you break my seal in the Dragon Palace?" The figure spoke in an ethereal female voice. But just as the last word was about to escape, Toneri was completely frozen. Elsewhere, in the primeval space, we had Black Zetsu surrounded on the ground. Black Zetsu looked at the three of us. His gaze finally stopped on my face. Madara, Obito, and you. I can't believe the shinobi world allowed such a combination. You have the Rinnegan too. Could you be the new reincarnation of Indra? But the age doesn't add up. Madara let out a cold snort. Black Zetsu threw up his hands. My plans are completely ruined. Madara looked bored. He didn't expect Black Zetsu to be so unafraid of death. I looked at Madara and gave a slight smile. Then I turned back to Black Zetsu. Aren't you curious why we summoned the golem? Or why we wanted to shatter the planetary devastation? Black Zetsu paused, startled. He looked at me with curiosity. Seeing that he was finally reacting, I stopped wasting time. Because we want to revive your mother, Kaguya Otsutsuki. Black Zetsu's pupils contracted in sheer ecstasy. You're actually willing to revive my mother. I clenched my fist, pretending to be fervent. I am a devoted admirer of Kaguya Hime. Why else would I awaken this Rinnegan? She endured the sin of eating the god tree's fruit. ... just to end the wars of the world. Yet the world only called her a tyrant. Black Zetsu trembled with excitement at my lies. Seeing how ridiculous he looked, I forced a few tears from my eyes. We will gather the tailed beasts to revive the Ten Tails. Black Zetsu looked at Madara and Obito. He questioned why these two were here. I immediately lied again. They've fallen under my Koto Amatsuki. My ocular power is absolute. It has elevated the Koto Amatsuki to the level of the Rinnegan. Black Zetsu still had some doubts. Removed filler. I turned to the two of them. A smirk played on my lips. Madara, call me Lord Chen. Show Black Zetsu your loyalty. Madara knew exactly what I was doing. Without hesitation, he stepped forward and bowed. He played along, calling out, Lord Chen. Seeing this, Obito followed suit. Now, Black Zetsu was completely convinced. After all, Madara was incredibly proud. He would never bow to a junior. ... unless he was truly being controlled. Black Zetsu choked up with emotion. I nodded solemnly. Black Zetsu burst into laughter. He laughed while tears streamed down his face. He then begged me to remove the black rods from his body. I had no objection. I stepped forward and pulled the rods out. Black Zetsu immediately returned to human form. I picked up Kaguya's severed arm from the ground. I turned and walked toward the golem. Black Zetsu followed closely behind me. I stopped beneath the golem, looking up at it. Black Zetsu gazed at the statue, his eyes full of tenderness. "We will bring you home soon." Right then, Madara silently accelerated, appearing behind Black Zetsu. He thrust his palm straight through Black Zetsu's heart. Removed filler. A killer's instinct. You really understand me. This feels amazing. Black Zetsu looked at the hand protruding from his chest. He was completely stunned. He stammered in confusion. "Wait. Didn't you say he was controlled by your Koto Amatsuki? Why did he suddenly stab me from behind?" Just as Black Zetsu finished speaking, another hand pierced through his other chest. This time, it was Obito's move. The two of them held the exact same pose. Black Zetsu looked over and saw me smiling too. He's finally come around. "You." Madara's mocking voice rang out from behind him. Black Zetsu, to have your hopes suddenly shattered ... At the moment you felt most triumphant and relaxed. Does it feel good? Ha ha ha. Black Zetsu burst into a manic laugh. I tightened my expression and shook my head. "You trampled on the lives and dignity of others. Falling into our hands today ... Is your retribution?" As I spoke, Madara and Obito each extracted a Truth Seeker orb from Black Zetsu's body. They then transformed them into yin-yang staffs. Having been drained of 2 Truth Seeker orbs, Black Zetsu slid limply from their arms and collapsed into a heap of mud on the ground. Seeing they had vented their anger, I looked at Black Zetsu. He clung desperately to a final shred of hope. "Are you just using me to vent your rage for those two? You said you want to revive your mother ... I refuse to believe ... that you'd come all this way just for someone ... double quotes ... as insignificant as me, and go through the trouble of destroying the planetary devastation." I nodded in agreement. "Of course, we didn't come specifically for you. We are." Black Zetsu completely broke down. I leaned down, grabbed him, and cast Yumatodoru. Black Zetsu's shriveled form instantly returned to its peak. Of course, the Truth Seeker staffs in Madara and Obito's hands did not disappear. Then, I activated Yumatodoru again. This time, it was to freeze. As the frost mist cleared, Black Zetsu had vanished from the earth. After a long silence, Madara asked me, "What do you plan to do with Kaguya?" I looked down at Kaguya's arm on the ground. This severed hand, still clinging to half a sleeve, had been torn off by Naruto's monstrous strength. I shook my head. I haven't decided how to handle Kaguya yet, given her stance toward the Otsutsuki clan. There is hope that we could win her over, but there are also negative factors. First, the cost of reviving her is too high. It would be like repeating the path you and Obito took. Second, her abilities are far too troublesome. If she hadn't been obsessed with reclaiming Naruto and Sasuke's chakra, she never would have lost. High investment, high risk, and uncertain rewards. From a purely investment perspective, Kaguya isn't a blue-chip stock. So, I have no plans to recruit her for now. But I don't plan to kill her either, until I find a better way to deal with her. I intend to keep her frozen. As I finished, I picked up Kaguya's hand. Suddenly, a flash of inspiration hit me. I immediately looked toward the Gato Mazo's chest. At the Hashirama clone fused with Madara's power. However, I didn't act yet. Instead, I took Kaguya's severed arm and froze it within the Yumatodoru time zone. Then, I looked up at the Six Paths planetary devastation. We had only destroyed about 1/6 of it. Black Zetsu's interruption delayed us. We need to speed things up. I called over Madara and Obito, and we resumed the massive task. Nearly a day later, amidst the roaring thunder, between the crumbling fragments of the celestial sphere, a faint purple silhouette appeared. It was Kaguya's true form. As her purple claws tore through the debris, What appeared before Kaguya's Byakugan were three perfect Susanus. Kaguya was instantly confused. This is ... the reincarnation of Indra that I once devoured. I recall his name is Uchiha Madara. And that one, the nameless one I killed with all killing ash bones. But this third boy, with the refined features ... I have never seen him before. Yet he possesses the Rinnegan, and can perceive the chakra and consciousness of both Indra and Asura. Who on earth is he? In the next moment, Kaguya's focus shifted to the distant Gato Motho below. When the statue suddenly vanished from my side, I felt a sense of unease. I faintly sensed some chakra. No dialogue. I thought hunters from my clan had come to finish me off. But shortly after, the chakra of those three vanished. Then, the planetary devastation sealing me didn't stop screaming. To think I would see the light of day again like this. As a mere remnant body anchored by a soul, we couldn't hear Kaguya's thoughts. But sensing her movement, Madara looked at Obito. No dialogue. It seems she's caught up with the current situation. You're planning to freeze her in time, right? How? Do you plan to run over and grab her? That would be too risky. There's no telling what ability she might suddenly use. I nodded in agreement. That's why I'll use a long-range attack to freeze her instead of capturing her in person. As I spoke, a piercing spear materialized in my Susanu's palm. I attempted to inject the freezing time power of Yumata into the spear. As blue-white frost condensed around the blade, the time-slaying piercing spear was formed. My Susanu then hurled it violently at Kaguya. Kaguya's Byakugan flashed. In an instant, she leapt from the debris. The spear hit only the ruins. Kaguya's body, larger than the Gato Motho, landed. She opened her mouth and inhaled. A powerful wine-style blast instantly slammed into our three Susanus. As the battle began, the three of us worked together to trap Kaguya within our barrier. I then condensed another spear and pierced her. Frozen frost began to spread across Kaguya's body. Amidst a surge of cold mist, Kaguya vanished from the land. I let out a long sigh of relief. Phew! Everything we needed is now in our hands. The hardware foundation for the plan is ready. Just then, Madara approached, holding his staff. Since I was the first to awaken the RINNEGAN ... And I will now transfer the summoning contract to you. I nodded solemnly. I placed my left palm against Madara's right. As light flared within Madara's Rinnegan, my body jolted. The summoning contract had been transferred to my palm. I looked at the fading seal on my hand. I knew I hadn't just inherited the Gato Motho, but also Madara's hopes and trust. With that finished, I took the two of them back to the hidden Shadow Village. Once we returned, Madara went to find my daughter, Mao. Obito followed me to the South Mountain. 3 years ago, I had the entire mountain hollowed out to create a cavern chamber, even more grand than Madara's hideout, protected by a powerful barrier. Once inside the chamber, I summoned the Gato Motho, sitting upon the massive wooden throne. I intended to test an idea that had struck me after dealing with Black Zetsu. I produced Kaguya's severed hand, which had been frozen in time. As the frost thawed, the skin of the hand became soft. I then used wood style, rising on a great tree into the air, facing the Hashirama clone in the statue's chest. That Hashirama clone was still covered in Madara's residue, created via yin-yang release. My hand blurred through signs, coating my palm in a thin layer of chakra. Using a chakra scalpel, I performed a precise surgery on the clone's chest for half an hour. When I landed, Obito stepped forward, impressed, grafting Kaguya's arm onto Hashirama's clone. You really think of everything. I could only smile faintly. Over the next hour and a half, Obito and I witnessed a drastic transformation. Obito was shaken. Kaguya truly is a terrifying existence, as the graft, her severed hand, actually took control, devouring the Hashirama clone. and the residue Madara left behind. Another half-hour passed. The Hashirama clone had completely vanished. Kaguya's arm continued to swell and grow, losing its characteristics as a limb. The final result was a black and white fleshy tumor. Obito's expression grew grave. It looks like that tumor can still grow. It just lacks enough energy. I looked at Obito. Back then, when your chakra possessed Kakashi, he ripped several tails off Kaguya's complete form. Those severed pieces should still be in your Kamui dimension, right? Obito nodded. He activated his Mangekyo's Kamui. A 5-meter block of purple flesh spiraled onto the ground. 7 pieces fell in total. The Kamui vortex didn't stop. Instead, it reversed more violently. Then, an arm from the Gato Matho fell out. Only then did Obito stop the technique. The spoils Kakashi seized are all here. These purple flesh blocks were part of Kaguya's complete body, tainted with the chakra of the tailed beasts. The Gato Matho and tailed beast Chak are a ... the essential elements of the Ten Tails. I looked at the gathered components for the Ten Tails revival and nodded. Then, I retrieved a treasure stored for years in the temporal zone. A bud containing the remains of the Ten Tails trunk. The withered flower of the god tree, after the infinite Tsukuyomi was released. Obito looked on in disbelief. I shook my head. The god tree flower was too conspicuous. Its sudden disappearance would have drawn attention. After the war, this flower and some god tree remains entered the dark underworld. After several transfers, they ended up in my hands. I pressed my palms together, the Rinnegan emitting a purple glow. I commanded the statue to use its chains. The Gato Mazo's mouth slowly opened, and 9 dark gold chains burst from its throat. 7 chains linked to the flesh blocks, 1 to the severed arm, and 1 to the withered god tree flower. All 9 chains pulled the materials back into the statue's mouth. The order was precise. First the arm, then the flesh blocks, and finally, the flower. The chains retracted, and the statue's mouth closed. No grand phenomenon occurred. It was as if it had just eaten a light snack. However, the tumor on the statue's chest began to grow slowly. Ignoring that for a moment, I began to reverse time and used severance to cut the causality, resetting everything I had just fed back into my possession. Obito looked at the reappeared items with curiosity. If you cut the causality ... I turned to Obito. The statue still receives the energy, but I can't simply create more of these. Unless absolutely necessary. One shouldn't put all their eggs in one basket. I don't plan on feeding it again. To Kaguya, who consumed the chakra fruit. A copy is just a copy. It can never compare to the original. Feeding it again only increases the numbers. It might be useful later in ways we can't imagine now. Having said that, I froze the flesh, arm, and flower in time, and placed them back in the temporal zone. Obito and I waited another hour. The tumor flattened as it grew, vaguely forming a human silhouette about 1 meter tall. Sensing my Rinnegan with the statue's senses, I found its growth momentum was still strong. It wouldn't be long before I could see the results. I summoned a white Zetsu. He emerged from the ground. I organized 108 white Zetsu into 2 groups, the inner and outer arrays. An inner member and an outer member with the same number could maintain a direct line of communication. I ordered this white Zetsu to closely monitor the growth of the artificial body. Report any changes to me immediately. Then, I led Obito out of the cave. Obito looked back at the Zetsu, curious. Regarding the current Zetsu configuration you mentioned ... I'm actually quite curious about it. When you mentioned the current setup earlier ... I became quite curious. Just what kind of method are you using? ... To let 2 separate entities maintain a private link, and even share a symbiotic life and death? I began to explain it to Obito. The twin flowers can do more than just replicate a body. I can establish a channel of shared consciousness ... and a lifelink between two living hosts. Those connected can synchronize their thoughts in real time, just like pain. No matter how great the distance, even across different dimensions, they can communicate telepathically, chatting as if they were just talking shop. Obito and I returned to the streets of the hidden Shadow Village, where we bumped into Toby. I then led them both to the tower in the South District. Conan waved to us as we arrived. We leapt up and entered the inner chamber. Madara leaned against the edge of the carved window, walking in, looking weary from his travels. He came over and sat beside me. She is now my official disciple. I have lived for nearly a century, and I've seen countless geniuses in the Uchiha clan, but I never once thought of taking a disciple. Her potential is one thing, but more importantly, I feel we are destined. The bond between master and disciple is a heavy one. From this day forward, she is no longer just your ward. But my disciple, Uchiha Madara's pupil. I nodded solemnly. I understand. I believe this means a great deal to her as well. After speaking with Madara, my expression turned serious as I looked at Conan. Conan, for this session of the Chunin exams in Konoha, I've decided the Hidden Shadow Village will attend. You've already decided? Yes, but first, we need certification. Our village has never shown its face to the world. I'm not sure if Konoha will encounter issues during the vetting process. Hearing this, I walked over to the map of the ninja world, pointing to the land of birds, which neighbors our village. That's easily solved. We'll have the land of birds vouch for us. We'll give them a grant of aid. To help them improve their people's livelihoods. Good idea. That settles the qualification issue. Next is the number of participants. The Chunin exams require teams of 3. Among our current academy students, those who have become official ninja are Yukikaze, and Yamato's son, Kansuke. Yukikaze, Kansuke, and one more will enter. Yamato will be responsible for leading them. Sister Conan, there is one more thing. Beside me, Obito spat out his tea in surprise. Madara's expression became meaningful. Conan, however, remained calm. My body. Yes. I can sense a great battle approaching. Your body will be of great use. I don't mind lending it to you. However, little brother, you'll have to show me that again. Conan's proposal left me stunned. After composing myself, I agreed. Meanwhile, at the Slug Sage's holy land, Naruto and Sasuke sat before the Slug Sage. Naruto scratched his head with a smile. Great Slug Sage. The Slug Sage looked puzzled. Are you mistaken about something? I don't know any Uchiha-chen. As the two of them stood there awkwardly, I once again demonstrated that heaven-defying technique. Obito was completely frozen in shock. Toby had to step in to explain. Chen's twin flowers. If used only on oneself. Can create the miracle you see before you. The twin flowers. Gender reversal. He had physically transformed into a woman, Uchiha Yu. Not only was Obito's group shocked, but Naruto was also stunned. That's strange. Uchiha-chen is a total stranger to you, yet he's mastered your Slug Sage arts. The Slug Sage was baffled. My arts cannot be used by outsiders. If it's not from me, then Chen must have used some unknown means. Hearing the sage's mutterings, Naruto quickly asked who you was. The Slug Sage explained. She is the only person in the ninja world who passed my trials and was taught my arts. Sasuke suddenly voiced a shocking theory. Chen and Yu. Could they actually be the same person? Yu is definitely a girl. And Chen should be a man, right? Sasuke remained unconvinced. Then could Chen have just turned into a woman? Naruto interrupted him seriously. Sasuke, how could the Slug Sage fail to see through a transformation jutsu? After saying that, Naruto continued asking about you. The slug sage smiled at the mention of her. Then her expression turned solemn. If she truly did something ... there must be a reason. To become my direct disciple ... one must pass the judgment of good and evil. You passed that judgment. Not only that, I sense the kindness in her heart. She can bring peace and hope to the ninja world. Recalling this, the slug sage looked nostalgic. She grit her teeth and stood up. She formed a series of hand signs, then slammed her palm onto the ground. Inside the tower of the hidden shadow village, just as I had transformed into you for the others ... a beam of white summoning light descended from above. I jolted in surprise. I realized it was the slug sage's reverse summoning. I would be transported in about 5 seconds. Luckily, I was already in the form of you. A second before I was summoned ... I stripped off my black divine robe, revealing my bare body. Luckily, I'm facing Conan. Before her widening eyes, I vanished, leaving only a single sentence behind. Don't panic. I'll be right back. I'll be right back. In front of the great waterfall of Shikatsu Forest, as the purple smoke cleared, I crouched down. Grandmother Katsuyu, what was that for? Katsuyu quickly used her body to cover me. Naruto, Sasuke. Katsuyu then used sage power to create a Haori for me. I stood up and looked at Naruto and Sasuke. I stood up and looked at Naruto and Sasuke. Greeting. Hello. I'm Uzumaki Naruto. And this is Uchiha Sasuke. I immediately switched on my acting skills, my eyes shining with admiration. You aren't the heroes who ended the 4th Great Ninja War, are you? You know us. It's truly an honor. Sasuke gave Naruto a warning, then used his Sharingan to scan my eyes and brain. But everything seemed normal. This was because, before coming here, I used the severance art to cut the causal link between my appearance and body. Still uneasy, Sasuke took out the chakra crystals given by Orochimaru. However, the crystals had no reaction. This was inevitable. With the twin flowers inversion, the base color of my chakra changes. Knowing the truth, I played dumb. Grandmother Katsuyu, what's going on? Katsuyu, in a great mood, took my hand and led me to sit by the waterfall. She then explained the situation. Naruto and Sasuke sat down as well and told me what had happened. After listening, I looked at Sasuke. In my mind, no one named Chen has ever appeared. Though, if this Chen could outsmart the heroes, then quietly approaching me to steal my sage chakra is a distinct possibility. Naruto and Sasuke exchanged glances and nodded. Then, Naruto suggested a spar. Can we spar a bit to get used to each other? Don't worry. I glanced at Katsuyu, and seeing her smile and nod, I agreed. This was the perfect chance to teach them a lesson. We headed to the Nether Valley. Naruto entered Sage Mode. Sasuke activated his Mangekyo Sharingan. I also entered Sage Mode. Katsuyu then declared the start of the spar. Naruto and Sasuke charged forward together. Naruto flicked his wrist, and smoke bombs clouded the area to hide his form. As he lunged from the smoke with a Rasengan, I shifted gracefully to evade him. Suddenly, Sasuke appeared behind me with a Chidori. My long hair fluttered as I moved, dodging the lightning by a hair's breadth. After crossing paths, they were grouped, launching a combined Rasengan and Chidori attack. I shook my shoulders, and barbs erupted from my sage robe. Dozens of sharp bone spikes shot out toward them. Their expressions shifted in shock at my Shiko Tsumiyaku. Though they tried to dodge, the spikes pierced their arms, shoulders, and waists, pinning them mid-air, unable to move. I quickly formed hand signs, my long arms reaching through the gaps to seize their throats. Scorching fireballs ignited in my palms, but their bodies vanished in a puff of white smoke. They were just shadow clones. As the smoke cleared, Naruto and Sasuke stood rooted to the spot. Naruto was particularly stunned. Was that Kimimaro and Yakura's? Keki Genka the bone pulse? I smiled at Naruto's words. This body of mine possesses a unique bloodline compatibility. By implanting a tiny amount of cells, I can merge any Keki Genkai without side effects, including the wood style I got from Hashirama's chakra. I am the peak. Seeing the attack had missed, I retracted the bone spikes. I looked at them with a smirk. The two of them attacked again. Naruto held a Raisin Shuriken in one hand, while his other hand gripped the air. He used the frog Q-Might, turning natural energy into an invisible fist that flew toward my face, but I blocked it with a Katsuyu Sage Palm. In the ensuing fight, Naruto and Sasuke were already shaken, and they were holding back since it was a spar. In the end, I knocked both of them down. Once they could no longer get up, I deactivated Sage Mode. I walked up to Naruto and Sasuke, offering them both a hand. Just focus on recovering for now. My words were full of warmth, like moonlight shining from above, reaching deep into their hearts. A short while later, the two of them recovered and left Shikatsu Forest. Naruto felt utterly humbled. I really learned a lesson today. We thought we stood at the peak of the ninja world, and that nothing could surpass us. First, Chen crushed us, and now Yu has given us a wake-up call. Sasuke felt the same. Sasuke felt the same. Now I understand what Itachi told me all those years ago. This loss was well deserved. Naruto looked at Sasuke and smiled. Since things are like this, let's move forward. Let's go back and handle the Chunin exams. As they returned to the village, I bid farewell to Sage Katsuyu. In a swirl of smoke, I returned to the high tower of the hidden village. Time flew by, and the day of the Konoha Chunin exams arrived. Since Naruto and Sasuke had seen the photo in my house, I had Samui help me, dress up me and Hikari as a wealthy couple. Yuki and Yue were also disguised, making them unrecognizable. Samui accompanied us as the butler. Next, I summoned Yamato. I placed my hand on his shoulder and activated twin flowers. After a brief commotion, Yamato had been transformed into a stunning woman. I smiled at his shocked expression. Heh, this is your insurance for leading the team to Konoha. During the Chunin exams, your name will be Nizi. A moment later, Madara and Obito arrived, wearing masks. Their cover for the Chunin exams. Was that of samurai bodyguards I had hired. Then, Fika and Kansuke arrived. Once everyone was present, I used my space-time ability to bring them to the deep mountains. Then, we split into two groups. Omitted noise. You take the children and report to Konoha first. After seeing the four of them leave, I led the rest to the main gates of Konoha. Before long, Konoha's special jonin, Yamashiro stepped out of the crowd. He compared a photo to the people before him, then hurried toward me. I am Yamashiro, special jonin of Konoha. We received word that you would be attending the Chunin exams. By the Hokage's orders, I have come to welcome you. Please follow me through the special passage. After entering Konoha, Ao's gaze fell upon the two masked men. If I may ask, Mr. Morgan, who are these two? My personal samurai. We must verify the identity of masked visitors for the records. Could you two please remove your masks? The atmosphere suddenly became tense. I nodded and agreed with a smile. However, the two behind me didn't budge. Seeing Ao's dilemma, I explained. Why don't you remove them yourself? As Ao reached out, his hand suddenly froze in mid-air. The closer he got, the stronger the pressure became. After struggling, he withdrew his hand. Then, he produced a gold card. This is your special guest pass. Please enjoy the culture and sights of Konoha. Once he had walked away, Madara's voice came from behind the mask. If he had actually tried to take my mask ... I would have had to make him dance. Obito curiously asked about my identity. I answered him as we walked. Morgan is the public identity ... that corresponds to my hidden persona in the underworld. I use it for formal public appearances. Using this identity, I've invested heavily in the 5 great villages. Duplicate noise removed. Duplicate noise removed. Duplicate noise removed. This is the power of capital. Duplicate noise removed. Alright, the first and second rounds of the Chunin exams are internal. Only the final round will be open to the public. Let's have some fun in the meantime. While we were enjoying ourselves, Yuki, Faika, and Kansuke registered for the exam. Upon entering, Yurui provoked them. Just as a conflict was about to break out, Boruto appeared in time to stop Yurui. Boruto rubbed his aching hand and looked at Yuki with concern. Is your hand all right? I noticed you've been clutching your wrist several times. Boruto paused, subconsciously tightening his grip on the metal plate on his wrist. After a brief excuse, he quickly slipped away. Shortly after, duplicate removed. The first stage of the exam began. The test was designed by Sai. Candidates had to choose between X and O platforms. A wrong choice meant sinking into the mud below. Of course, the real test was one's unwavering will. Those meant to pass, passed. The second stage was a fight for the flag. Unexpectedly, Yuki's team faced Yurui's team. Yurui wore a smug smile, thinking they were doomed. But in the end, he was brutally beaten by Yuki. And Faika snatched the flag away. Kansuke didn't even need to step in. With the second round over, a day passed. The third round finally began. To my surprise, Kansuke was the first to fight. His opponent was Shinki of the Sand. Kansuke's specialty is bamboo ninjutsu. While Shinki underestimated him, Kansuke unleashed several unseen ghost bamboo techniques. He ultimately managed to defeat Shinki. Seeing this, I nodded in satisfaction from the guest seats. The list for the next matches appeared. Faika was up against Mitsuki. Both were people of few words. They began fighting immediately upon entering the arena. Mitsuki's strength was formidable. Before long, he forced Faika to activate the 3-Tamo Sharingan. From the stands, Kanahamaru stepped forward to ask for instructions. Noise removed. Noise removed. During the match, Fuka's Sharingan detected. The hidden sage power within Mitsuki. He urged Mitsuki to release it. Unexpectedly, Mitsuki raised his hands and surrendered. As Mitsuki walked past him, Faika was curious about his decision. Is there something you can't tell me? Mitsuki shook his head. I just want to protect the peace I've found. If I reveal that power, I'll lose everything I have now. With that, Mitsuki left the stage. Then, the third match began. It was Yuki versus Boruto Uzumaki. In the stands, assistant helpers had already set up the best camera angles. Hoping to record Boruto's heroic moment. On the field, Boruto's emotions were conflicted. The scientific tool beneath his sleeve displayed the wind kanji. He gripped the miniature scroll in his palm, and a wine-style shuriken appeared. Boruto aimed and threw it at Yuki. The shuriken curved sharply toward Yuki's blind spot. Just as Boruto thought it was over, Yuki threw a kunai, striking the center hole of the swirling shuriken with precision, pinning it into the ground. Yuki then activated the 3-Tamo Sharingan. With a wave of her hand, she unleashed Fire Style, Great Fire Annihilation. Boruto countered with 4 consecutive water-style jutsu. He barely managed to block the attack. Duplicate removed. Watching this, I felt very gratified. She's already reached 70% of Madara's prime. This far exceeds his level from the academy. Meanwhile, the battle in the arena continues. Boruto roars in frustration and quickly weaves signs. Countless shadow clones surround Yuki. Yuki glances around. Her gaze pierces through the crowd, fixing on Boruto's right hand. Every time he casts a jutsu, there's a subtle movement of his right hand. It seems that's not just a habit. But some kind of trick hidden there. Having noticed the anomaly, Yuki swiftly dispatches the shadow clones. and closes in on Boruto. Are you using external tools to fight? After speaking, Boruto leaps back to create distance. He reveals the scientific ninja tool on his right arm. He aims it brazenly at Yuki and activates the 100-round burst. Yuki's 3-Tamo Sharingan spins rapidly as she dodges. Seeing this, Naruto's expression changes. I have to stop the match. Otherwise, that girl, Yuki, will be in danger. Yuki maneuvers and dodges the elemental blasts. As explosions erupt against the surrounding walls, her expression darkens. If the spectator stands are destroyed... Flames ignite in her right hand, which she slams into the ground. A dark red wall of fire envelops the combat area, leaving only the top open. Seeing this, Sasuke becomes unsettled. That girl is no ordinary opponent. Naruto, stop this fight immediately. Then investigate her background. Facing Sasuke's suggestion to investigate Yuki, Naruto refuses. From what I've seen, her reason for creating that barrier was to protect the audience from Boruto's attacks. And Sasuke, did you see her eyes? She is treating this fight with total sincerity. Despite Boruto's obvious cheating, she didn't call for a stop. Instead, she chose to answer him with her true strength. Out of respect for that spirit, we cannot stop this match. However, Uzumaki Boruto has used Forbidden's ninja tools. As of this moment, he is disqualified from the exam. Regardless of the final result, the winner will be the girl named Yuki. As for her mysterious origin from the hidden Shadow Village, we will investigate after the exams. After calming Sasuke, Naruto continues to watch the match. Boruto raises his hand and removes his Konoha forehead protector. I am not fighting you as a shinobi of the leaf, but as a son who will do whatever it takes to get justice for my father. Boruto then activates his scientific ninja tool, first using the shadow binding technique to freeze Yuki, then triggering purple lightning. In the urgency of the moment, a deep red diamond mark suddenly appears on Yuki's forehead. Before the competition, Madara had infused her with his and Hashirama's chakra, creating a young seal refined with Senjutsu chakra. As the chakra surges violently, Yuki's appearance reverts to her original form. Samui's disguise can no longer hide her. Yuki then summons hundreds of trees that rip violently from the earth. In an instant, the arena is transformed into a sea of trees. The 5 Kage are shocked to see the wood style. Naruto stares intently at Yuki's true face. It's her. Sasuke notices flowers blooming from the trees. His expression shifts instantly. Just as Sasuke prepares to intervene, Naruto places a hand on his shoulder. Adult grudges have nothing to do with children, regardless of Uchiha Dust's motives. In sending his daughter to the Chunin exams, that is a matter between us and him. We have no reason to attack her. If she truly tries to kill Boruto, I will step in. Meanwhile, in the guest seating area, I observe Naruto and Sasuke's behavior from afar. Although I cannot hear their conversation, I can guess the general idea. Although Cha couldn't hear the conversation, he could still guess the gist of it. I will give you an opportunity soon, though it might be a bit painful. I then turn my gaze toward the horizon. It's time to end this roleplay. Strong. If we don't return on time, take the children back to Taoyuan first. With those words, I use my ocular technique, vanishing from the spot along with Madara and Obito. Back in the forest of the tree world, Boruto does not give up. He roars, swinging his purple lightning, slashing through the rapidly growing trees. Seeing this, Sarada instinctively wants to enter the arena to support him. Beside her, Fu questions her. Uchiha Sarada, why would you do such a thing? This is the resolve of a shinobi. Uzumaki Boruto may be a cheater, but he is still protected by the rules. He could surrender at any moment, yet he stubbornly insists on fighting. This is his choice. Why do you wish to interfere? Because he is my irreplaceable partner. I cannot stand by and watch him die. As Sarada speaks, Fu questions her again. And if he does, will you seek revenge on that girl? Sarada's voice chokes up, but she speaks her mind. I won't seek revenge. There is no ground for revenge. But I will hate myself. I hate that I was too blind to notice he was hiding those tools, leading him to do all these foolish things. If Boruto dies because of this, I will never forgive myself. With tears of intense regret, the two Tamo in Sarada's eyes spin violently, evolving into the three Tamo Sharingan. Seeing that his goal has been achieved, a melancholy smile appears on Fu's lips. He gives Sarada a gentle smile. Back in the arena, the power of Boruto's purple lightning fades away. The flower buds on the trees bloom, releasing toxic pollen. After inhaling the pollen, Boruto collapses to the ground. Seeing this, Yuki descends before him. Boruto lets out a sigh, finally giving up his futile resistance. Yuki, who exactly are you? Why is it that at our same age, you possess such overwhelming power? The strength I have now. To put it bluntly, it's just resources from my parents. Boruto was instantly stunned. So half your strength was handed to you, just like my scientific ninja tools. Our lineage grants us a higher starting point, but the heights we reach depend entirely on ourselves. From my parents' hardships and setbacks, I found my own path forward as a shinobi. Hearing the outdated word parents, Boruto tried to understand, but he still couldn't relate to it at all. Seeing him like this, Zu immediately cast a Sharingan Jinjutsu. The memories I shared with him about Naruto, everything about the 7th Hokage was forced into Boruto's mind. Clutching his throbbing head, Boruto was in disbelief. This was my dad's painful past? He was rejected by everyone, yet he became Hokage step by step through pure perseverance. Is this really my dad? I never knew any of this. Thank you for telling me. Just as Boruto finished speaking, Momoshiki, having fused with Kinshiki, appeared in the sky. However, one of his horns was broken. Even so, he had utterly brutalized the 5 Kage and Sasuke. Zu stepped in to help, but was completely outmatched. Fortunately, Sasuke managed to save him. Seeing his father buy him time to escape, Boruto didn't run. Instead, he formed a Rasengan. Unfortunately, facing absolute power, Momoshiki condensed a truth-seeking ball. Boruto could only close his eyes and await death. At the critical moment, a Susanoo spear pierced through the truth-seeking ball. Midst the waves of the explosion, I revealed my true form before everyone. Long time no see, Momoshiki. Momoshiki instinctively touched the clean break of his left horn. Seeing his wariness, I considerately offered an explanation. I am the only one standing before you. Hearing this, Momoshiki lowered his hand. A relaxed smile resurfaced on his face. To be honest, seeing you again, deep down, I, Otsutsuki Momoshiki, am thrilled. Taking advantage of our conversation, Sasuke made his way to Naruto's side. He pulled out the chakra receivers blocking Naruto's chakra points. Naruto immediately entered Ninetales mode and began rescuing the others with Sasuke. Aware of the movement behind him, Momoshiki's golden Rinnegan on his forehead flared. With Zu's retreat, the rootless deep forest emergence suddenly surged toward Naruto and Sasuke. Then, Momoshiki hooked his 2 fingers. The Uchiha flame formation still clinging to the stadium walls unleashed meteor-like, dark red flames. Unending dark red flames rained down, relentlessly bombarding the forest zone, until the flame barrier exhausted its energy and vanished. Yet Naruto and Sasuke remained trapped inside. Momoshiki then clenched his fist. The 4 spectator stands collapsed violently, shattering the ground outside the arena. Flying rock slammed into the burning forest. Soon, with the heavily injured Naruto and Sasuke at their cores, 2 planetary devastations formed as they rose into the air. That should keep those pests quiet. Though, having no audience at all ... makes things feel rather lonely. Momoshiki clenched his fist again, creating an opening in each planetary devastation, forcing Naruto and Sasuke inside, into a humiliating position. to witness what was about to happen next. Seeing this, I nodded calmly. I see. So this is the ocular power of your golden Rinnegan. To be able to interfere with another's jutsu ... is truly an eye-opener. This is Tokoyo Omoikane, a power that rivals my Takami Musubi. Meanwhile, Obito and Madara, concealed by Hanayashu, sat atop the two planetary devastations. Watching this, Madara felt deeply moved. It seems rapid growth during high-stakes combat ... is not exclusive to shinobi. His potential is being displayed to the absolute fullest. He consumed Kinshiki, grew stronger fighting me, and absorbed over 100 jutsu using Takami Musubi. This brand new Momoshiki ... should be called the ultimate powered-up Momoshiki. It was easy to tell from Madara's words that during our brief disappearance earlier, the three of us had already ambushed Momoshiki and Kinshiki once. Momoshiki conjured a glowing red guando and launched a fierce, preemptive strike. I unsheathed the Kusanagi sword from my waist, channeling crackling purple lightning, using the Uchiha undercurrent swordsmanship to clash with his divine martial techniques. Seeing the stalemate, I decided to wage psychological warfare. Swinging my blade with full force, I mocked. "Are you striking so hard to avenge your broken horn?" As expected, Momoshiki laughed in sheer fury. "If I don't take half your head off, I'll take your surname." With that, he unleashed a fierce, razor-sharp slash. Seeing Boruto in the path of the attack, I leaned back to evade while pressing Boruto's head down with one hand. A shockwave from the slash swept right over our heads. Boruto was shocked beyond words. In a battle where a split-second distraction meant death, Momoshiki dragged his blade and swung downward, aiming to cleave me in two. My right eye instantly activated Omodaru, altering time to disrupt his attack rhythm. I then entered Shikatsu Forest Sage mode. After executing a swift counterattack against Momoshiki, I floated in midair, holding Boruto. "Hey!" Hearing him, I turned to Boruto. "Do you want something to happen to me?" Boruto was instantly speechless, and could only look away awkwardly. Seeing this, I used Omodaru again, to reset my heavily damaged body back to perfect health. Channeling my chakra, I maintained the Shikatsu Forest Sage mode. Then, I looked down at the ruins below. After a brief silence, a wild, arrogant laugh echoed across the wasteland. Momoshiki rose from the dust, his hair disheveled. "In all my thousands of years, you are the first ... Shouldn't you fulfill your promise first? You said if you didn't take off half my head, you'd take my surname. Should I be calling you Uchiha Momoshiki now?" Momoshiki rubbed his forehead, speechless. "First, change your name to Otsutsuki Rishiki. You possess the bloodline of my clan. Though not a pure blood, your strength is enough for the main house. These lower beings are beneath you. You shall replace Kinshiki as my partner. We will form a new duo. In time, I will introduce you to Lord Ryushiki." I found Momoshiki's invitation quite amusing, yet I was slightly touched. After all the blood and sweat I poured into my plans for the shinobi world, only to be despised by Naruto and Sasuke. Yet Momoshiki, whom I've barely met, is the one extending an olive branch. This is a path I never imagined. Regardless of our positions, it's comforting to be appreciated. Still, I shook my head. Momoshiki looked somewhat disappointed. "Since you refuse to be Rishiki, then one of us must become dust. It's too cramped here. Care to change venues for the second half?" Momoshiki's golden Rinnegan widened, and a black swirling vortex opened behind him. The portal led to the ruins of the land of Izuma. Once a civilization as great as your land of frost, but now a wasteland after my clan's invasion. There, we can fight without restraint. I nodded in agreement. Momoshiki stepped through the portal. Now, as for me ... Once the portal closed, I set Boruto aside, and opened my own portal. Boruto stood there, fists clenched, head low. I pretended to hesitate. Boruto summoned his courage and looked up. Can you take me with you? I know I can't help, and that I'm just a burden. But I don't want to be a burden forever. Boruto looked at me with pure admiration. You're truly incredible. A monster that even the 5 Cage couldn't defeat. And yet you're suppressing him. He even offered you an amazing deal. And the way you rejected him was so cool. I don't know why you're enemies with my father. And I once thought you were a heartless villain. But after witnessing this, I feel like you must have had a reason for doing what you did. Mr. ... I don't want to be a frog in a well anymore. I want to see the wider world and become a powerful ninja like you. Hearing this, a faint, moved smile appeared on my indifferent face. This was exactly the effect I wanted. Even the previous interactions between Yuki and Boruto were done under my instructions. I gave a slight nod. If I fight that guy in earnest, I won't be able to protect you perfectly. If you were to lose your life because of it, I wouldn't be able to live with myself. Seeing him like this, I smiled inwardly. Against a naive brat, playing hard to get really works. I then led him through the portal. From the peak of the planetary devastation, Madara and Obito leapt down, entering the portal before it closed. The shaking earth finally fell silent. Only then did the Konoha shinobi dare to peek from the ruins. The ruins of the land of Izuma were dim and oppressive. Momoshiki glanced at me and Boruto. Why did you bring that little burden along? I gave a meaningful smile. Are you sure he's a burden? Momoshiki had seen my time reversal jutsu, so he stopped questioning Boruto's presence. He ripped up a tree and hurled it at me. Boruto quickly ran behind a hill to watch. I stopped holding back and fought Momoshiki with everything I had. Eventually, Momoshiki was heavily wounded by my purple lightning, causing his power to plummet. At that same moment, above the Konoha wasteland, cracks appeared in the 2 planetary devastation spheres. Naruto and Sasuke both burst forth. He's this strong after awakening the Rinnegan? Naruto's eyes flickered with complex emotions. Sasuke, do you think we've misunderstood Uchiha-chen all this time? He's genuinely fighting for his life against an Otsutsuki. Those things he mentioned in his letters to Konoha. Maybe he wasn't just fear-mongering. Sasuke's expression darkened. The Otsutsuki he mentioned in the letters ... And this invader, Momoshiki, doesn't directly prove his letters were true. Moreover, fighting an Otsutsuki doesn't mean he's on our side. Sasuke's way of thinking differed from Naruto's. When faced with the unknown, he tended to analyze the darkest possibilities of human nature. However, he eventually conceded. But to eliminate the Otsutsuki, we must go to that dimension. I've already marked it with my Rinnegan. Sakura is treating the cage. We'll use my Rinnegan to travel there. Once they decided, they departed. Back in the land of Izuma, Momoshiki stared at the hole in his chest, eyes wide with rage. Even the pills refined from the ox-octopus likely couldn't fully heal this wound. I have to secure a backup plan. How ironic that my future must depend on a brat like that. Momoshiki looked toward Boruto. I casually acted as if I were going to deliver a finishing blow, driven by survival instinct. Momoshiki launched an attack at me, then shot toward Boruto. I pretended to be knocked to the ground, screaming in panic. Boruto scrambled backward in terror. In the next instant, Momoshiki grabbed him by the collar, examining him closely. Scanning his chakra pathways, he discovered an unusual omen. I see. You're no ordinary brat. You are the child of that fox, and the woman with the power of the Byakugan, the power of the Jogan. Screams, "You bastard! Don't think you can use me to threaten Uncle Naruto." Momoshiki sneered. "With aptitude like yours, you'll make a fine vessel." Momoshiki slammed a wedge into Boruto. A diamond-shaped mark appeared on Boruto's palm. Momoshiki then punched Boruto in the gut and threw his unconscious body to the ground. Seeing that the necessary item was left behind, I finally breathed a sigh of relief. Momoshiki swallowed 3 pills, instantly healing 70 of his chest wound. But his internal injuries remained. He looked at me with a smirk of admiration. You brought the kid here ... for this purpose from the start, didn't you? I stopped pretending. At first, it was just a whim. But now, I'm truly glad I did it. Momoshiki gave a bleak smile. His face suddenly filled with a desperate will to fight. Seeing this, I summoned the perfect Susanoo, combined with 7 consecutive Sage Mode boosts, and the energy of the Amaterasu, using the Vira technique to suppress him. Finally, with a blast from the 50-blade spear, I beat Momoshiki until he was on the brink of death. I lifted him high into the air. Silence, frost, symbolizing frozen time, spread across his body. Momoshiki laughed hysterically. Your strength ... even among the 10 gods of Takamagara. Silence. Where does Ishiki rank? ... among your so-called 10 gods? Momoshiki was genuinely surprised. I'm impressed you know about that guy. His talent as a god was mediocre, so he simply benefited from the passage of time. He ranks 3rd among the 10 gods. And what about Ryushiki? Judging by your tone ... he must be the leader of the 10 gods. Why isn't he mentioned? Momoshiki sneered. Lord Ryushiki is on a completely different level. Comparing Ishiki to him is an insult. Silence. Enough. Just rest now. Silence. The frost encased Momoshiki, and he vanished from my grip. Just then, a space-time portal slowly opened. The 5 cage, led by Naruto and Sasuke, arrived. Seeing the horrific scars of battle across the land, they remained silent for a long time. Sasuke was the first to speak. I didn't mind telling them the truth, but I didn't like Sasuke's tone, so I didn't give him a warm welcome. He should stay in his place. Then, Naruto spotted Boruto. After confirming Boruto was alive, he looked at the surrounding terrain. The cliffs were riddled with wooden shards and sharp fragments of Susanoo crystal. Only the spot where Boruto lay was untouched. Silence. It was as if someone had protected him. Kurama gave a warning. Naruto then noticed the diamond mark on Boruto's palm. His relief vanished instantly. He quickly carried Boruto back to the other cage. Sasuke reopened the portal. Naruto stepped through with Boruto, then flashed back alone a moment later. The portal closed once more. The 5 cage and Sasuke formed a battle array against me. Naruto and Sasuke were bathed in Kurama's chakra. Before them stood the absolute defense of the Susanoo. Combine your power ... with this armored Susanoo. Darui added lightning-style chakra to the Susanoo. Churor unleashed his dual blades, extending them alongside Kurama's arms. Black stripes connected them, allowing Kurama to use blood mist sword techniques. Then came Gaara and Kurotsuchi. Kurotsuchi performed a seal on Gaara's sand gourd. Using an enhanced lightweight rock technique, I've lightened your sand ... and all the earth in this area. You can now manipulate it with total freedom. Gaara clenched his fist, and a massive waterfall of sand surged upward, echoing with yellow lightning around the armor. Naruto finally looked satisfied. This was the work of Konoha's top strategist. The brilliant crystallization of Shikamaru Nara's intellect. The ultimate move of the current 5 cage. The cage-style armored Susanoo. I couldn't help but laugh. These people are incredibly creative during civil wars, but they become total cowards in actual foreign conflicts. I questioned them bluntly. Is this how you treat your savior? I dealt with Momoshiki for you, and you immediately launch your ultimate attack? Is this the nobility of the 5 great nations? Hearing this, the cage lowered their heads in shame. Sasuke, as usual, Remain steady. Don't be fooled by his words, since we can't verify the truth. And for the safety of the shinobi world, we must treat him as an enemy for now. If we don't strike while he's weakened, we'll never get another chance. We cannot gamble the world's safety ... on his moral standards. His power is simply too dangerous. This is insane. After I waited until the Boruto era, Momoshiki actually tried to go back in time to kill Naruto and me. Naruto suppressed his conflicting emotions. Come back to Konoha with us for investigation. If you can prove your innocence, the fact that you think you can beat me ... means the despair I've given you isn't deep enough. I didn't want to use that move on you, but I stopped holding back. The perfect Susanoo manifested, towering between heaven and earth. Seeing this, the group launched their secret techniques at me. With my right Rinnegan and left Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, a violent light erupted. A burst of chaotic chakra blew the armored Kurama away. Chakra scales covered my entire body. My presence now rivaled the Six-Path Sage and Hamura during their combined fight against Kaguya and the Ten-Tails. But that wasn't enough. I activated the Twin Flower Ocular Jutsu. Beneath the black god robe, only my head remained the same. From the neck down, I shifted into Conan's form. This change ... grants the perfect Susanoo a special mechanism. It shares the user's own physical abilities. I wove a series of hand signs. Ha ha ha, Madara laughed loudly at the sight. You truly never cease to surprise me. Noise removed. Naruto, Sasuke, and the others stared blankly at the sky. Naruto couldn't help but mutter, 680 million heavenly spears ... will all rain down on you within 30 seconds. I raised my palm. A sky full of spears aligned perfectly, targeting Naruto's group. Then, I smiled. Seeing them frozen in fear, I decided not to be too hard on them. As I finished speaking, I pressed my palm down. 680 million spears crashed down. Art of the Paper God? I originally intended this move for Ishiki, but you'll do for a practice run. In an instant, the armor was riddled like a hedgehog. Massive explosions erupted, engulfing Kurama. The surrounding mountains were completely leveled. Madara stared at the devastation, a triumphant smile crossing his face. Jin, this move is faster than Hashirama's true several thousand hands. ... and far greater. The Uchiha's ocular power has finally surpassed the Senju. I, Madara, name you the spokesperson for the new Uchiha era. Amidst the chaos and fire, Sasuke pushed his ocular power to the limit, desperately repairing the Susanoo armor. Duplicate line removed. Combined with super heavy rock, it granted 6 times the defense, just as they thought they had survived. I smiled. It wasn't 680 million spears. The actual number is 860 million. Just 7 more seconds, and you'll be free. But as soon as I spoke, the golden remains of Kurama went silent. The aftershocks of the explosions lingered before finally settling, leaving only drifting dust. I landed in the center of the massive crater. The others were scattered across the ruins, nearly 100 meters apart from each other. It seems that at the last moment, Naruto threw them out of Kurama's chakra. But judging by their injuries, they'll suffer even if they survived by luck. I then found Kurotsuchi in the debris, only to find she had lost a leg. Universal pull. I drew the severed leg into my hand. I activated the Yumute in my right eye. A few seconds later, Kurotsuchi's shattered body was restored. Waking up, she looked like a guilty little sister. If I hadn't attacked with the 5 cage ... I wouldn't have ended up like this. And now you've seen me at my worst. I shook my head, unbothered. Madara and Obito walked over. Did you use Koto Amatsuki on Onoki's granddaughter? I remained non-committal. When adding to my twin flower body reserves, I must ensure they are completely loyal. Otherwise, if I activate the body, and they decide to commit suicide, who can I complain to? Besides, Kurotsuchi's body is as useful as Konan's. She can easily take second place. Just then, a Yomatsu Hirasaka rift opened. Yorishiki arrived as promised to collect the favor from Momoshiki. But as soon as he looked down and saw the three of us, he froze. Without a second thought, Yorishiki lunged backward into the air, diving back into the rift to make his escape. Madara looked at me, asking how we should handle this. My expression turned cold. What kind of trash is he ... To think he can jump around in front of me. Noise removed. I had already marked his space the moment he appeared. Noise removed. You handle the aftermath with the 5 cage. Once Sasuke wakes up, follow him back using the Rinnegan. Kurotsuchi nodded obediently. Meanwhile, the fleeing Yorishiki was still paranoid. If I had stayed in the circle of those three, I would have definitely died. I have no choice but to use Rin, then. Only by escaping through the timeline can I stop Uchiha Jin's time reversal, and the possibility of him rewinding me. I've crossed over. Internal monologue noise removed. Yorishiki held a turtle-shaped treasure tool. He began deciding which point in time to return to. I've got it. I'll just go all out and strike at the easiest moment, like when that Nine-Tails Jinchuriki was a child. And while I'm at it, I'll kill Uchiha Jin while he's still a brat. 2 birds, 1 stone. With this perfect plan, Yorishiki immediately activated Rin. He boarded the time elevator back to the past. The weight finally lifted from his chest. Ha ha ha, he laughed triumphantly. Unfortunately, the three of us were already in that elevator. I had simply used a genjutsu to hide us. Yorishiki couldn't see us. Noise removed. As the light faded and the scenery solidified, Yorishiki arrived in the land of fire. Autumn, year 61. Noise removed. Yorishiki landed and frowned. Why did this consume so much more energy than usual? Is it just old and worn out? He quickly brushed the concern aside. Humming a tune, he began heading toward Konoha. Suddenly, I placed a hand on his shoulder. Junior. Yorishiki jumped back as if electrocuted. You Uchiha Jin. Terrified, he scrambled backward, only to bump right into Obito. Hey there. Yorishiki screamed and lunged away, only to crash straight into Madara. Useless waste. Surrounded by the three of us, Yorishiki trembled in fear. How is this possible? How did you all get here? Yorishiki grabbed Rin to flee again. I simply raised my hand. Universal pull. The gravity yanked Rin into my palm. I then used Yumu Daryu to freeze the treasure tool. Yorishiki desperately lunged to grab it back, but Madara kicked him away with a powerful blow. I put away the frozen artifact. This is the key to unlocking the cause of Jin's death. Then, together with the two of them, we gave Yorishiki a justified beatdown. Thanks to my time reversal skill, there was nowhere for him to run. Once he reached a small island, I used a modified version of the giant 1,000-hand Buddha and wiped the entire island off the map. Yorishiki lay on the tossing sea, his body drenched in blood. Madara stepped on him. Killing you would just stain my hands. Do you want him? Obito shook his head. I then used Universal Pull to bring Yorishiki closer. Yorishiki, there's something I want to ask you. Answer truthfully, and I won't mind letting you live a while longer. Who was the Otsutsuki member that came to the Land of Frost with you? In the original plot, while searching for the space where Ishiki kept the Ten Tails, Sasuke found a very peculiar altar. There were 3 horned totems on it. The owner of those totems is closely linked to Yorishiki, but based on Yorishiki's strength, he couldn't possibly be the leader of the duo. Therefore, that unknown Otsutsuki is most likely Yorishiki's master? As expected, when I asked this question, Yorishiki's expression instantly darkened. Silence. But he looked strangely calm about death, a far cry from when he was begging for mercy. I frowned. Fine, you don't have to tell me. I'll find out myself. Using the power of the human path, I pressed my palm against his skull. Suddenly, a flash of red light flickered through Yorishiki's mind. In an instant, Urashiki died on the spot. I was stunned. Damn it! His brain had been rigged with Jinjutsu. The moment someone tried to search his mind, it would trigger an immediate self-destruct. Not even Madara could heal such mental trauma. Urashiki was completely finished. He couldn't even be used as tree fertilizer now. This unexpected variable ruined my plan. I gouged out his eyes and placed them in a preservation jar. I froze them within the Madara time zone, then froze and collected the rest of his body. Consider it compensation for the loss. I then looked at Obito. Do you still have the eyes from the Uchiha massacre? I do. They're all stored in my Kamui space. Is Shisui's right eye there too? Yes. But Danzo sealed it before he died. He released the eye and handed it to me. I used Achantika to sever the seal's karma. The eye returned to normal. I handed it back to Obito. Obito looked on in amazement. You keep it. Shisui's eyes have identical functions. One is enough for me. Just keep it for now. After some back and forth, Obito took the right eye back. I then turned toward the northwest horizon. Repeated line removed. Just as we took a few steps, a cloaked figure appeared behind us. He wore a half-black, half-white mask. Two Rinnegan, one black, one white, stared intently at my back. Suddenly, the masked man flashed in front of me, staring directly into my eyes. The terrifying part was, not a single one of us noticed him. He began to mutter to himself. To think he possesses the Achantika of my extinct clan, and his left eye, which hasn't yet awakened as a Rinnegan, still holds such power. It's hard to imagine a human reaching this level. Let me examine your karma. I'm being targeted. After hiding in Boruto's era and returning to Shippuden, I've been targeted by a mysterious man. Beneath the white side of the mask, the black Tomo in the white Rinnegan spun. I see. To think that you and I share such a strange karmic link. The eyes you possess now. Were they created because of me? It seems our meeting today. He flashed back behind me. He watched as we walked away. I will go to that river. And end that man's life. The seeds planted then will bear fruit that cannot be foreseen. I will do many things in between to ensure the outcome favors me. You have become the perfect vessel in the eyes of a god. As his last words faded, I stopped, sensing something. I looked back at the empty sea. I stared for a long time, but there was nothing there but the waves. I suppressed the chill in my heart and continued walking with the other two. Meanwhile, at the Shenluo River in the Land of Lightning, an old monk sat in meditation on a rock. 13-year-old Jin had been kneeling for 3 days and nights, but the monk remained unmoved. Jin's companion felt for him. Forget it. This old bald monk is stubborn. Why insist on him as a master? Because he is a true sage. Meanwhile, Madara, Obito, and I used Hiyasu to hide our presence. Watching from the cliff above, I gazed intently at little Jin. Madara understood my feelings. If time could return to that battle, he would give up eternal light, just to save Izuna from Tobirama's blade. Below, young Jin pressed his hands together. Please take me as your disciple. His companion knelt beside him. Suddenly, the Zen master opened his eyes. He let out a deep hum chant and looked directly at our position. I was startled. By reaching the high state of samadhi, without practicing ninjutsu, one can gain special abilities. And he had seen right through us. Is this the power you possess? The Zen master looked at me on the cliff and shook his head. His voice echoed directly in my mind. Do not try to change the course of history in this era, or you will vanish instantly. I didn't expect the master to see through my plan to take Jin with me. I quickly responded in my mind. Is that the karmic technique of your Rinnegan? I'm sorry to tell you, but you are far from strong enough to sever karma across time and space. If you take your brother now, the karmic backlash will make you vanish on the spot. As soon as he finished speaking, the Zen master began to cough violently. Obito hurriedly asked what was wrong. I let out a soft sigh. The cost of the master's special ability was likely the inability to interfere with others' karma. Starting from those coughs, the Zen master's health declined rapidly. He reached the end of his life 3 years later. It was all because he intervened in my karma. He did it out of kindness. I jumped from the cliff, hiding my presence as I hugged the young Jin. A single tear fell on his shoulder. Suddenly, the clear sky turned overcast, and rain began to pour down. The Zen master pressed his palms together. I officially take you as my disciples today. I will teach you the secrets of 6 paths Zen. The master led the 2 boys away. Standing in the rain, I looked at the artifact in my hand. I wanted to go to Konoha year 73, when Jin died, to find out who the mastermind was. But logic eventually prevailed over emotion. There was still a great enemy before me, Ishiki, and the threats of Kara were not yet resolved. I cannot afford to be distracted now. Once I've wiped out Ishiki and Kara, I'll find the person who killed you. I'll make sure to scatter their ashes. The light from the artifact once again became a portal. During the transit, I suddenly remembered something. Madara, Obito. There was a detail about Urashiki that bothered me. Where did his red fishing rod and basket go? Given his combat power, those 2 items were vital for his survival. Why didn't he have them with him? It simply didn't make sense. However, the others had no answer. So, we began our return journey in silence. Late at night, in an obscure Hyuga compound, Hyuga Taro was digging in the dirt under a tree. After meeting Uchiha Dust in Kaguya's dimension, leaving the karma mark on this youth was indeed a wise move. A Hyuga body has the Byakugan, allowing me to adapt quickly and unlock a portion of the karma's power. At least I can use these 2 abilities now. The voice was none other than Urashiki. He dug up the red fishing rod and basket, continuing to mutter to himself. My desperate begging was just to make you think I was hopeless. I had already prepared a way to escape. He looked at the diamond mark on his palm and let out an eerie smile. I'll hunt chakra in Konoha while searching for a truly fitting vessel. For now, call me Urashiki Taro. Urashiki Taro walked into an alley by a tavern. His red fishing line pierced a drunken Chunin's chest, hooking his chakra out and placing it in the basket at his waist. After taking 7 people, a drunken Katasuke walked into the alley. Seeing a civilian, Urashiki didn't bother with him. Katasuke suddenly pointed a bottle at him. Are you guys from some evil organization? Sent specifically to oppose me? Katasuke, you're jealous of my talent for scientific ninja tools. That's why you're targeting me, right? I'll fight you. Katasuke threw the bottle at Urashiki. Urashiki was startled at first, then realized the man was just rambling. Just as he was about to ignore him, he noticed something on Katasuke. A dark purple aura that was previously invisible. Instantly, the red rod pierced through his chest, hooking out a flame of dark purple chakra. The moment the flame was removed, Katasuke suddenly felt the suffocating pressure of the past 2 weeks vanish. As he cleared his head, he realized what he had been urging Boruto to do. Terrified, he fainted on the spot. Urashiki looked at the hook in disbelief. The amount of chakra he hooked from this civilian was even more than a ninja's.